Billionaire comes home early, and what he sees breaks his heart. Matthew Harrison cancelled the most important meeting of the year and came home on a Thursday afternoon, something he hadn't done in nearly a decade. His tech company could wait a few hours, but an unbearable headache forced him to leave his office in downtown New York City. As he quietly opened the main door of his mansion in the Upper East Side, Matthew stopped in the entry hall upon hearing laughter coming from the kitchen. They were familiar voices, but there was something different about them. His children, Tyler and Emily, were laughing in a way he hadn't heard in a long time. He discreetly walked to the kitchen, and what he saw left him frozen. Rachel, the housekeeper who had worked in his home for only 3 months, was serving slices of a homemade chocolate cake to the children. The three heads were together over the table, and she was telling some story that made his children's eyes shine with curiosity. And then Grandma Elizabeth said to the rooster, "If you don't stop crowing at dawn, I'll turn you into soup." Rachel imitated a funny voice that drew more laughter from the children. "Aunt Rach, tell another one," asked Emily, clapping her little hands. "Yeah, tell the one about the dog who became a detective," added Tyler, with his mouth full of cake. Matthew felt something strange in his chest. His children called the housekeeper Aunt and seemed more comfortable with her than they had ever been with him. When was the last time they asked him to tell a story? Actually, when was the last time they asked him for anything? "Easy now, you two. First, let's finish this cake that your aunt made especially for you," said Rachel, gently stroking Tyler's hair. "You make the best cake in the whole world," declared Emily, hugging the young woman's waist. "Better than the ones from the French bakery that Mommy always buys," agreed Tyler. Rachel smiled with a genuine tenderness that Matthew recognized immediately. It was the same expression his own mother had when she looked at him in childhood, before she passed away when he was just 8 years old. Matthew took 2 steps back, feeling his legs tremble. How was it possible that a stranger in just 3 months had created a connection with his children that he had never managed to build in 11 years of being a father? The laughter continued to echo through the kitchen as Rachel wiped the children's chocolate-smeared faces with endless patience. Matthew watched her every gesture, every exchanged smile, every affectionate word, everything he had always wanted to give his children, but never knew how. "Daddy never eats cake with us," commented Tyler without malice, just as a natural observation. "He's always working, right?" replied Rachel gently. "But I'm sure he loves you both very much." "How do you know?" asked Emily, curious. "Because every time he rushes through the kitchen in the morning, I see him looking at your drawings on the refrigerator. And yesterday, when you had a fever, Tyler, I saw him standing at your bedroom door for a few minutes, just watching you sleep." Matthew swallowed hard. Rachel had noticed things about him that he didn't even know he did. How could she see through his defenses so easily? "Aunt Rach, are you going to stay with us forever?" asked Emily, her voice small and full of hope. Rachel hesitated for a moment, and Matthew saw a shadow of sadness cross her face. "I'll stay as long as you need me, and as long as I can be here," she replied, choosing her words carefully. "Promise?" insisted Tyler. "I promise I'll do everything within my power," said Rachel, kissing the boy's forehead. Matthew felt his heart race. There was something in her voice, a hesitation that deeply troubled him. Why hadn't she simply said, yes? At that moment, his phone vibrated strongly in his pocket, making a noise that echoed through the hallway. The three heads turned toward the sound. "Daddy!" called Tyler, surprised. Matthew had no choice but to enter the kitchen, trying to appear natural despite the whirlwind of emotions he felt. "Hi, everyone. I got home early today," he said, forcing a smile. "Daddy!" Emily ran to hug him, her face still smeared with chocolate. "Aunt Rach made a cake. Want a piece?" Matthew looked at Rachel, who had quickly stood up and was smoothing her apron with an apologetic air. "I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison. I made the cake for the children and—" "No need to apologize," he interrupted, still trying to process the scene. "You were having fun." "The cake is delicious, Dad, really," said Tyler, pulling his father's hand toward the table. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Matthew sat at the table for the first time in months. Rachel cut a generous slice of cake and placed it in front of him. The first taste surprised him. It was exactly like the cake his grandmother used to make when he was little, before his business life completely consumed him. "How did you learn to make this?" he asked, genuinely curious. "My mother taught me. She said the secret wasn't in the recipe, but in the love you put into it while preparing it," replied Rachel, wiping the table around the children. "Aunt Rach says her grandmother was an amazing cook and that she fed the whole family with very little," said Emily, proud to know that detail. "And that she made sweets to sell at the market when she didn't have money for medicine," Tyler added. Matthew stopped chewing. How did his children know more about the housekeeper's life than he knew about their own? "You talk quite a bit, I see," he commented, trying to sound casual. "Aunt Rach always asks how our day at school was," said Tyler. "And when the teacher got mad at me about my homework, she helped me understand the material." "You didn't tell me the teacher got mad at you," said Matthew, frowning. Tyler looked down, suddenly shy. "You're always busy, Dad, and when I try to talk, you're looking at your phone." The sentence hit Matthew like a punch in the stomach. It was true, and he knew it. How many times had his children tried to get his attention while he was answering urgent emails? "Next time, tell me, okay?" he said, trying to sound convincing. "Okay," murmured Tyler, but Matthew noticed the boy didn't quite believe the promise. Rachel cleared the empty plates efficiently, but Matthew noticed she avoided looking directly at him. There was something in her movements, a tension that wasn't there when she interacted with the children. "Rachel, can I talk to you?" he asked. "Of course, Mr. Harrison." "You can go play in your room," Matthew told the children. "We'll talk more later." The children ran off, still energized by the sugar and the special afternoon. Matthew waited until they were out of sight before speaking. "How long has it been since you've seen your children like this? Happy?" asked Rachel directly. The question caught him off guard. He had expected to question her, not to be questioned. "They've always been happy children," he replied defensively. "Mr. Harrison, with all due respect, when was the last time you spent a whole afternoon with them, without answering the phone, without talking about work?" Matthew opened his mouth to answer, but realized he couldn't remember. Not a moment like that, genuine and unhurried. "They're good kids," Rachel continued, washing the dishes in the sink. "But they miss their father. Tyler asked me the other day if you didn't like him anymore because he wasn't good enough with his grades." "Did he say that?" Matthew's voice came out higher than normal. "And Emily has been keeping all the drawings she makes at school in a little box under her bed. When I asked why she didn't show them to you, she said you're always in a hurry." Every word from Rachel was like a sharp blade cutting through the excuses Matthew had built for himself over the years. He always thought working so much was a way to show love, to ensure the best possible future for his children. "I work to give them everything they need," he murmured. "Mr. Harrison," Rachel turned to face him, and for the first time Matthew saw determination in her brown eyes. "They don't need everything. They need you." The silence that followed was broken by the sound of the front door swinging open forcefully. Victoria, his wife, had arrived from her weekly session at the spa. "Matthew, what a surprise to find you at home," she said, appearing in the kitchen doorway with a confused expression. "I thought you were in meetings until tonight." "I cancelled," he said, still processing the conversation with Rachel. "Cancelled? You never cancel anything." Victoria looked suspiciously between her husband and the housekeeper. "What's going on here?" "I just had some cake with the children," replied Matthew. "Cake?" Victoria raised one perfectly shaped eyebrow. "Rachel, you know the children can't have sugar after 3 in the afternoon. It will ruin their dinner." "I'm sorry, Mrs. Harrison. I didn't know that rule," said Rachel, lowering her head. "How did you not know? It's written on the instruction list I left for you." Victoria sighed impatiently. "Where are the children now?" "In their room, playing," replied Matthew. "Rachel, can you go get them? They need to take a bath and do their homework. The routine cannot be broken," ordered Victoria. As Rachel went to call the children, Victoria approached Matthew. "What's this about you coming home in the middle of the afternoon? Are you feeling well?" "I'm fine. I just decided it was time to spend more time at home." "Since when?" Victoria laughed, but without humor. "Matthew, you've missed all the children's school performances in the last 2 years. You can't just show up here and try to play the caring father." Why can't I? They're my children. They are, but they have a routine, they have commitments. Emily has piano class in an hour and Tyler has swimming. It's not fair to come here and mess everything up for a paternal whim. Matthew was about to respond when he heard footsteps on the stairs. Rachel was coming down with the children, who seemed to have lost all the joy they had minutes before. "Mommy, Aunt Rach made an amazing cake," Emily tried excitedly. "That's nice, dear. Now go change for your classes," said Victoria, without even looking at her daughter. "But I wanted to stay a little longer with Dad," protested Tyler. "Another time, my love. Routine is important." Victoria was already going up the stairs. "Rachel, make sure they're ready in 20 minutes. Matthew saw the expression on his children's faces change, the frustration, the resignation, the silent acceptance that moments of joy always had an expiration time. "Daddy," Tyler held his hand, "will you be here when we get back from classes?" The simple question carried so much weight that Matthew felt his heart tighten. His children had to ask if he would be at home, as if his presence were an exception, not a constant. "I will," he promised, surprising himself. "Really?" Emily's eyes lit up. "Really?" As the children ran upstairs to change, Rachel quietly organized the kitchen. Matthew observed her efficient movements, the way she knew every corner of the house, how she stored each item in its exact place. "Rachel." "Yes, sir?" "Thank you for the cake. It was delicious." She smiled, but Matthew noticed the smile didn't reach her eyes. "My pleasure, Mr. Harrison." "You can just call me Matthew." Rachel stopped cleaning the counter and looked directly at him. "I don't think that would be appropriate." "Why not?" "Because I work for you, and it's important to keep things clear." There was something in her answer that bothered Matthew, a firmness that seemed to come from experience, as if she had already learned to keep her distance out of necessity. "How long have you been working as a housekeeper?" he asked. "A few years," the answer came too quickly, evasive. "Rachel, may I ask a more personal question?" She hesitated but nodded. "Why are you so affectionate with my children? I mean, beyond your job." Rachel completely stopped what she was doing. For a moment, Matthew saw a deep vulnerability in her eyes, as if he had touched on something very painful. "Because all children deserve to feel loved," she replied, her voice choked. Before Matthew could ask anything else, Victoria shouted from upstairs, "Rachel! The children are ready." "I'm coming, ma'am," she answered, quickly drying her hands on her apron. "Rachel, wait." "Yes?" "Tonight, after the children are asleep, could you teach me how to make that cake?" The question surprised them both. Rachel's eyes widened, and Matthew wondered where that idea had come from. "You want to learn how to cook?" "I want to learn how to make my children smile the way you do." For a moment, the air between them was charged with something neither of them knew how to name. Then Rachel nodded slowly. "All right. After they're asleep, I'll teach you." As Rachel went upstairs to get the children, Matthew remained in the kitchen, looking at the table where minutes before he had witnessed more genuine love than he had seen in his home in years. He picked up his phone to check work messages, but for the first time in a long time, the device remained forgotten in his hand. His thoughts were completely focused on two children who called the housekeeper aunt, and on a woman who could turn an ordinary afternoon into something magical with just a cake and a few stories. When he heard the voices fading toward the car that would take the children to their classes, Matthew went up to his home office but couldn't concentrate on anything. Every email he opened seemed unimportant compared to the discovery he had made. At 7 in the evening, he heard the car arriving. Tyler and Emily came back from their classes visibly tired, but their faces lit up when they saw Matthew in the living room. "Daddy, you really stayed!" shouted Tyler, running to hug him. "I promised, didn't I?" said Matthew, hugging his son tightly. "How was swimming?" he asked, genuinely interested. "It was cool. I learned how to do the butterfly stroke." Tyler demonstrated the movements in the air. "And piano, Emily?" "The teacher said I'm improving a lot. Do you want me to play for you?" "Of course I do." Emily ran to the piano in the music room, and for 15 minutes, Matthew listened to his daughter play a simple Bach melody. It was the first time he paid full attention to one of her performances without dividing his attention with his phone or work worries. "That was beautiful, Princess," he said when she finished. "Really? You really thought so?" "I did. I'm very proud of you." Emily threw herself into his arms, and Matthew felt an emotion he had forgotten existed. It was pure, uncomplicated, without an agenda. It was just love. During dinner, something unprecedented happened in the Harrison home. Matthew turned off his phone. Absolutely. And for the first time in years, he truly listened to what his children had to say. Tyler talked about a science project he was developing at school about volcanoes. Emily shared that she had stood up for a younger classmate who was being teased by other boys. Victoria participated in the conversation superficially, more interested in checking her own messages. "Rachel, could you serve dessert?" asked Victoria without looking up from her phone. "Of course, Mum." Rachel brought bowls of ice cream for everyone, but Matthew noticed she didn't serve herself. "Aren't you going to have any?" he asked. "I eat dinner later, sir," she replied, starting to clear the plates. "Why? What do you mean? Why do you eat dinner later? Why don't you eat with us?" Victoria finally looked up from her cell phone, clearly annoyed by her husband's question. "Matthew, Rachel is our employee. She has specific times for her meals. But why can't she have dinner with us?" "Because that's simply not how things are done." Victoria spoke as if explaining something obvious to a stubborn child. "Maybe it should be," murmured Matthew. "What?" "Nothing. Forget it." But Matthew couldn't forget. While Victoria went upstairs to take a bath and the children watched television in the living room, he watched Rachel clean the kitchen. Every movement of hers was precise, efficient, but there was a melancholy in her silence that bothered him. "Rachel?" "Yes, sir?" "Do you still want to teach me how to make the cake?" "If you still want to learn." "I do." She nodded and began gathering the ingredients. Matthew realized that Rachel knew his kitchen better than he did. She knew where every utensil, every spice, every ingredient was. "First, you need to know that cooking is about patience," she said, measuring the flour. "You can't rush it. Patience was never my strong suit." "I noticed," she said with a half smile, "but your children need to see that you can slow down for them." "How do you know so much about children?" Rachel stopped stirring the batter and was silent for a few seconds. "I've taken care of many. Did you always want to work as a housekeeper?" "No, actually, She hesitated as if deciding how much to reveal. "I was a teacher." "Were? What happened?" "Life happened," she said simply, returning to stir the batter with more force than necessary. Matthew realized he had touched on a sensitive subject and decided not to press. For now. "Now you add the eggs one at a time," instructed Rachel, "and mix slowly, with care." "With care?" "Yes. If you mix with anger or haste, the cake feels it." "Cakes don't have feelings," Matthew laughed. "Yes, they do. My mother always said that food absorbs the energy of whoever prepares it. That's why a mother's cake always tastes special." While Matthew tried to follow the instructions, he broke 3 eggs on the counter before getting one right. Rachel laughed heartily, and he realized it was the first time he had heard her truly laugh. "It's not as easy as it looks," he said, frustrated. "Nothing worthwhile is easy," she replied, helping him clean up the mess. "Does that include being a father?" "Especially being a father." They worked in silence for a few minutes, with Rachel patiently correcting each of Matthew's mistakes. There was something meditative about that process, something that calmed his restless mind. "Rachel, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why do you care for my children as if they were your own?" The question caught her off guard. She stopped stirring the batter and rested her hands on the counter. "Because every child deserves to be cared for like that," she replied, avoiding his gaze. "But you do more than that. You love them. Mr. Harrison, Matthew, just Matthew." "Matthew," she sighed. "Some people have more love to give than places to put that love. I am one of those people." There was a deep pain in those words that Matthew couldn't ignore. Before he could ask anything else, he heard footsteps coming down the stairs. "Daddy, what are you doing?" Tyler appeared in the kitchen, followed by Emily. "I'm learning to bake a cake," said Matthew, showing his flour-covered hands. Really? The two were wide-eyed. Aunt Rach is teaching me. That's so cool. Can I help? Asked Emily. What about me? Said Tyler. Of course, said Rachel, smiling. Let's do it together. For the next hour, the kitchen of the mansion became something Matthew had never seen before, a space of laughter, mess, and genuine connection. The children taught their father how to lick the bowl without making too much of a mess. Rachel told stories from her childhood while the cake baked, and for the first time in years, Matthew felt like part of his own family. Why didn't you ever bake a cake with us before, Daddy? Asked Tyler, sitting on the counter with his legs swinging. Because I thought I didn't know how to do these things. But now you've learned, said Emily proudly. Yes, I have. When Victoria came down to see why there was so much noise, she found the kitchen completely messy and all four covered in flour. What is this mess? She asked, clearly annoyed. We made a cake, Mom. Daddy helped, said Tyler excitedly. Matthew, you have an important meeting early tomorrow. You shouldn't be wasting time like this. I'm not wasting time. I'm gaining time. Gaining time? What does that mean? It means that for the first time in years, my children want to be close to me. Victoria looked around the messy kitchen at the flour-covered children, at Rachel, who was discreetly wiping the counter, and finally at Matthew. Are you having a midlife crisis? She asked. Maybe, or maybe I'm finally waking up. Victoria sighed and looked at Rachel with disapproval. Rachel, tomorrow hire a cleaning company to get the kitchen in order, and please keep the children's activities within reasonable limits. Yes, ma'am. After Victoria went upstairs, the children helped Rachel clean the kitchen. Matthew watched how they worked in harmony, as if it was something they did regularly. Do you always help Aunt Rach like this? He asked. Always, said Emily. She says a family works best when everyone helps. A family? Yeah, Tyler nodded seriously. Aunt Rach is part of our family, right, Dad? Matthew looked at Rachel, who had stopped cleaning and was watching him with an unreadable expression. Yes, he said finally. She is. When the children finally went to sleep, Matthew and Rachel were alone in the kitchen. The cake was cooling in the oven, filling the room with a homemade aroma he hadn't smelled in decades. Rachel, can I ask a more direct question? Go ahead. Who were you before you came to work here? Rachel leaned against the counter and took a deep breath as if making an important decision. I was a preschool teacher. I worked at a public school in Brownsville. What happened? My father got sick, Alzheimer's. I needed money for his treatment and to hire someone to care for him during the day. A teacher's salary didn't cover the expenses. And domestic work pays better. In homes like yours, yes, much better. Matthew processed the information. Rachel had left a career she loved to care for a sick father. That explained so much about how she interacted with his children. Do your parents know this? She asked. Know what? That you've become a stranger to your own children? The question was like a slap in the face, direct, painful, and true. My parents never knew anything. They were always traveling when I was a child. I practically grew up with maids and nannies. And now you're doing the same thing with Tyler and Emily. It's not the same. I worked to give them everything I didn't have. Did you have affection? Did you have attention? Did you have someone who knew what your favorite cake was or what story you liked to hear before bed? Matthew fell silent. The answer was no to all those questions. Is that why you think love is shown with money? Continued Rachel kindly. Because that's how they tried to love you? I don't know, I've never thought about it, he admitted. Well, you should think about it. Because your children are growing up thinking they're not important enough to have their father's attention. They are the most important thing in my life. Then show them, not with gifts or expensive trips. Show them by being present. At that moment, they heard footsteps on the stairs. Tyler was coming down, rubbing his eyes. Aunt Rach, he called softly. I'm here, sweetheart. What's wrong? I had that nightmare again, the one where the monster comes to get me. Rachel knelt in front of the boy and held his little hands. Do you want me to go up with you and scare the monster away? Yes, but can Daddy come too? Tyler looked at Matthew with a mix of hope and fear of being rejected. Of course I can, said Matthew, His voice choked. The three went up together to Tyler's room. Rachel sat on the edge of the bed and began telling a story about a brave boy who discovered that monsters were just shadows that ran away when you turned on the light of love. Matthew watched everything from an armchair in the corner, seeing how Rachel turned fear into fantasy, anxiety into adventure. When the boy finally fell asleep, they went back down to the kitchen. "Does he have nightmares often?" asked Matthew. "Some nights. Usually when he's anxious about something." "Anxious about what?" "Matthew, can I be honest with you? Please. Tyler asked me last week if you and Mrs. Victoria were going to separate." Matthew's world stopped. "Why did he ask that?" "Because he hears you arguing, and because you almost never talk in front of the children, except to discuss schedules or obligations." "Rachel, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that children notice everything. They just don't talk because they're afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that if they talk about the problems, they'll become more real." Matthew sat heavily in a chair. How many signs had he missed? How many silent cries for help? "What should I do?" "Start by talking to them. Really talking. Not about grades or behavior. About feelings, about dreams, about fears." "I don't know how to do that." "No one is born knowing. But you can learn." At that moment, the oven timer rang. The cake was ready. Rachel took it out of the oven and the sweet aroma filled the entire kitchen. "It turned out perfect," she said, smiling. "How do you know?" "Because it was made with love, and love always works out." Matthew looked at the simple, golden, fragrant cake and understood that there was something there much greater than mixed ingredients. There was intention, care, dedication. "Rachel, do you miss being a teacher?" "Every day," she admitted, "but life sometimes forces us to make difficult choices." "What if you didn't have to choose?" "What do you mean?" "What if there was a way for you to keep being a teacher and still take care of your father?" Rachel looked at him curiously. "I don't understand." "Tyler and Emily could have private lessons at home. With you, you could be their teacher." "Mr. Harrison, that wouldn't work. Your wife would never accept it. Leave my wife to me. And besides, I'm not qualified to give private lessons to children of your children's social standing." "What social standing? They're children." "Children need affection, attention, and someone who believes in them. You know how to do that better than any expensive teacher we've ever hired." Rachel lowered her head, clearly moved. "Why would you do that?" she asked. "Because today I saw my children truly happy for the first time in a long while, and because you're right, they deserve to feel loved." "And what will your wife say?" "The truth, that our children need more than they've been getting." At that moment, Victoria appeared in the kitchen doorway, wearing a silk robe and with an expression of impatience. "Matthew, what are you still doing down here? It's almost 10 o'clock. "Talking with Rachel." "Talking? About what?" "About our children. Our children are asleep, and Rachel should have finished her work already." "Victoria, I need to talk with you," said Matthew, standing up. "Now?" "Now." "Rachel, you may go rest," said Victoria coldly. "Good night," said Rachel, avoiding looking at either of them. After she left, Victoria turned to Matthew with her arms crossed. "What was all that talk with the maid?" "Her name is Rachel." "I know what her name is, Matthew. What I want to know is why you've been acting so strangely since you got home." "Strangely?" "Strange is the fact that a maid knows our children better than we do." "Don't exaggerate." "I'm not exaggerating, Victoria. Did you know that Tyler is afraid we might separate?" "What?" "Did you know that Emily keeps all her drawings in a box because she thinks we don't have time to look at them?" Victoria fell silent, clearly uncomfortable. "Where did you get this information?" "From someone who actually pays attention to our children." "Matthew, Rachel is an employee. It's not her role to be the children's psychologist." "And what is our role, Victoria?" "Our role is to give them the best education, the best opportunities, and love, affection, presence. Is that not on the list?" "Of course it is, but we have responsibilities." "What responsibilities are more important than our own children?" The argument was interrupted by a soft cry coming from Emily's room. The two rushed upstairs and found the girl sitting on the bed, tears streaming down her face. "What is it, Princess?" asked Matthew, sitting beside her. "I heard you fighting downstairs," she sobbed. "We weren't fighting, sweetheart. We were just talking," said Victoria, trying to sound reassuring. "But you spoke loudly and you talked about separating." Emily looked at her parents with eyes full of fear. Matthew and Victoria exchanged guilty glances. "Emily, listen carefully to Daddy." Matthew held his daughter's face in his hands. "Daddy and Mommy love each other, and they love you and Tyler more than anything in the world. Then why are you never together? Why do you never do fun things with us like Aunt Rach does?" The innocent question cut like a knife. Victoria stood up abruptly and left the room. Matthew heard the bathroom door slam shut. "Daddy, is Mommy mad at me?" asked Emily, frightened. "No, Princess. Mommy isn't mad at you. She's sad." "Sad why?" "How do you explain to an 11-year-old that adults sometimes get lost in the middle of their own lives? How do you say that sometimes parents forget how to be parents? Sometimes adults get so worried about working and solving problems that they forget what's truly important," he said. "And what is truly important? You and Tyler. You are the most important thing in Daddy's life. Then why are you always working?" The simple, direct question from an 11-year-old child shattered all the elaborate justifications Matthew had built up over the years. "Because I forgot that, Princess. But now I remember." "And you won't forget again?" "No, I promise I won't forget again." Emily hugged him tight, and Matthew felt a tear roll down his face. When was the last time he had cried? When was the last time he had felt something as pure as a child's unconditional love? "Daddy?" "Yes?" "Do you like Aunt Rach?" "I do." "Why?" "Because she makes you smile, and she makes us smile too. And I think Mommy doesn't like her very much." "Why do you think that?" "Because Mommy always gets mad when we talk about Aunt Rach." Another painful observation from a perceptive child. Matthew realized his children read family dynamics much better than he had imagined. "Emily, do you want Aunt Rach to keep living here?" "Yes, she's the best person in the world," the girl said without hesitation. "After you and Tyler, of course." "Of course," Matthew smiled through the tears. After making sure Emily had gone back to sleep, Matthew went looking for Victoria. He found her in the master bathroom, removing her makeup with mechanical movements. "We need to talk," he said. "About what?" "About what's happening with our family." "What's happening with our family, Matthew, is that you're having an existential crisis and projecting it onto our children. Do you really believe that?" "I do. You never cared about the household routine, never questioned anything about how things work here. Why now? Because today I saw how our children really feel. And how do they feel? Alone. They feel alone, Victoria. That's ridiculous. They have everything they need. They have everything except us." Victoria stopped removing her makeup and turned to face him. "Matthew, you work 16 hours a day. I handle the social obligations that maintain our status. We both do our part to secure the children's future." "What future?" "A future where they're emotionally empty adults like we've become." "Speak for yourself." "I'm speaking for both of us. When was the last time you sat with them just to talk, not to check homework or organize schedules? Just talk." I talk with them." "About what?" Victoria opened her mouth to answer, but no words came out. The answer was in the silence. "And Rachel talks with them about everything," Matthew continued. "About dreams, fears, hopes. She knows each one's personality, knows when they're sad or worried. She's paid to do that." "No, Victoria, she's paid to clean the house and watch the children. Love is free." "Love?" "Matthew, she's our maid." "So what? Does that stop her from loving our children? Or stop our children from loving her? It keeps things from getting unnecessarily complicated." "Complicated how?" "Like now. You're confusing professional affection with real family relationship." "Am I confused or are you afraid?" "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that a woman who earns a fraction of what you spend on a single salon visit might be a better mother to our children than you are." The words came out harsher than Matthew intended. But he couldn't bring himself to regret them. It was the truth, raw and painful. Victoria stared at him for several seconds, her eyes shining with anger and hurt. "How dare you say that to me? Because someone needs to say it. Victoria, when was the last time you hugged our children when it wasn't for a photo?" "I hug my children." "When? Between tennis lessons and the photo shoot for the magazine? Between the charity event and dinner with clients? I do what I can. You do what's convenient." Matthew's shout echoed through the bathroom, and immediately they looked at each other, worried they had woken the children. They stayed silent for several seconds, listening carefully, but no sound came from the bedrooms. "Matthew," Victoria's voice came out softer, but laden with sorrow. "I always knew you blame me for not being the mother you wanted me to be. I don't... Let me finish. I know you think I don't care enough, but you're wrong. I do care. I just don't know how to show it the way you want me to. Victoria, my mother was never affectionate with me. She taught me that love is shown through responsibility, through making sure everything is in order, through keeping up appearances. I don't know how to do it any other way. But you can learn. How? At 42, how am I supposed to learn to be spontaneous, affectionate, fun, like Rachel? The same way I'm going to have to learn to be present." Victoria sat on the edge of the bathtub, suddenly looking very tired. "Matthew, you don't understand. If I change now, if I admit I was doing everything wrong, what does that say about the last 11 years? What does that say about the kind of mother I've been? It says you're human, and that it's never too late to start over. And what if it is too late? What if our children already see me as the cold, distant mother? Then you show them they were wrong." Victoria looked at him through the mirror, her eyes glistening. "I'm afraid, Matthew." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid to try and fail. Afraid to find out I really don't know how to be a mother. Afraid that they'll prefer Rachel because she's better at it than I am." It was the first time in years that Victoria had spoken about her fears, her insecurities. Matthew moved closer to her and touched her shoulder gently. "Victoria, our children don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be real. And if I don't know how to be real, then you learn. We learn together." They stayed silent for a few minutes, each lost in thoughts about the years they had spent on autopilot, about the missed opportunities, about the ignored signs. "What do you suggest?" Victoria asked finally. "That we start over, for real. That we stop pretending our family is okay when it clearly isn't. And what about Rachel? What about Rachel? Matthew, are you in love with her?" The question completely surprised him. "What? No. Victoria, how can you think that? Because you've been defending her more than you've defended me for years. I'm not defending her. I'm defending our children. I'm defending our chance to be a real family. A family that includes the nanny. A family that includes anyone who genuinely loves our children. That sounds very nice, Matthew, but it's not realistic. Rachel has her own life, her own problems. She can't be the solution to our family problems." "You're right. She can't be the solution. We have to be the solution." "So what do you propose?" "That we stop outsourcing love, that we learn to be present, and that, while we learn, we keep close someone who knows how to make our children feel important." Victoria sighed deeply. "And if that doesn't work, what if it does?" The next morning, Matthew woke up 2 hours later than usual. For the first time in years, he had slept deeply, without the obsessive thoughts about work that usually kept him awake. He went down to the kitchen and found Rachel preparing the children's breakfast. She was wearing the same blue uniform from the photo stuck on the refrigerator, a photo from Tyler's birthday party the previous month, where she was in the background serving the cake. "Good morning," she said, surprised to see him so early. "Good morning. Are the children up yet?" "They just came down. They're brushing their teeth." "Rachel, do you have a few minutes to talk?" "Of course." "The proposal I made last night about you giving private lessons to Tyler and Emily. Have you thought about it?" "I have. But Mr. Harrison, that would cause a lot of problems. Your wife wouldn't like it, and Victoria and I have talked. She understands we need to make changes. And the other housekeepers? The house won't run properly if I'm giving lessons. We can hire more people for cleaning and organization. The important thing is that you focus on what you do best, taking care of the children and teaching them. But I don't have teaching materials. I don't have... Rachel, stop looking for problems. Do you want this or not? She fell silent, clearly wrestling with some internal conflict. Mr. Harrison, can I be completely honest? Please. I can't get any more attached to these children than I already am. Why not? Because when this ends, and it will end one day, it's going to hurt too much. Who says it has to end? Because it always ends. Rich families grow up, the children go to expensive boarding schools, colleges abroad, and people like me get left behind. What if this time was different? How could it be different? Because this time the decision wouldn't be just mine, it would be my children's too. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. At that moment, Tyler and Emily came running down to the kitchen. "Daddy, you're here?" shouted Tyler, jumping into Matthew's lap. "I said I would be, didn't I?" "Aunt Rach, look, Daddy really stayed," said Emily proudly. "I see," smiled Rachel. "That's good." "Children, sit down for breakfast," said Matthew. "I want to propose something to you." "What?" they both asked at the same time. "How about if, besides taking care of you, Aunt Rach also gave some special lessons here at home?" "What do you mean?" asked Emily. "Like lessons about life, about history, about how things work, about how to cook?" Matthew looked at Rachel. "About everything that's important to know to be a good person." "That would be the best," shouted Tyler. "Really, Daddy?" asked Emily, disbelieving. "Really? And does Mommy say it's okay? Mommy will understand it's what's best for you." Rachel was silent, nervously fiddling with the dish towel. "Aunt Rach, do you want to?" asked Tyler. I would love to," she said, her voice emotional. "But it needs to be a decision for the whole family." "We are the family," said Emily, "and we want it." "Your mother is also part of the family," said Matthew, "and she needs to agree." As if summoned, Victoria appeared in the kitchen, already dressed in an elegant outfit for her day's activities. "Agree to what?" she asked, grabbing just a cup of coffee. "To Aunt Rach giving us special lessons," said Tyler excitedly. "Special lessons?" "Yeah, Mommy. Lessons on how to make cake, how to plant things, how to tell stories." Emily gestured animatedly. Victoria looked at Matthew with an expression that mixed irritation and resignation. "You've already decided this without consulting me? I'm consulting you now, in front of the children." Very diplomatic. "Mommy, will you let us, please?" begged Emily in the sweetest voice she could muster. Victoria looked into her daughter's pleading eyes, at Tyler's hopeful smile, at Matthew's determined expression, and finally at Rachel, who kept her eyes downcast. "Rachel, are you qualified to give private lessons?" she asked. "I was an elementary school teacher for 6 years before I came to work here," replied Rachel. "You were? Why did you stop?" "Personal circumstances," said Rachel, offering no details. "What kind of circumstances?" Matthew realized Victoria was interrogating Rachel, looking for reasons to say no. "Victoria," he interrupted, "does that matter?" "Of course it matters. If we're going to entrust our children's education to someone, we need to know everything about that person. We've already trusted our home, our routine, and our children's care to her for 3 months. What's the difference? The difference is that now you want to make it official. You want her to have even more influence over our children. I want our children to be happy. And they're not happy? Victoria, look at them now. Look how radiant they are just at the possibility of spending more time with someone who actually pays attention to them." Victoria looked at Tyler and Emily, who were watching the conversation attentively, clearly nervous about the tension between their parents. "All right," she finally said. "We'll try it for a month, a trial period." "Really, Mum?" asked Emily, incredulous. "Really, but with a few conditions." Victoria looked directly at Rachel. "The lessons cannot interfere with the children's already scheduled commitments. Piano, swimming, English, all of that continues." "Of course," agreed Rachel. And you will give me weekly reports on what you're teaching. I want detailed reports. Yes, ma'am. And no changing their diet without my authorization. Understood. Mom, said Emily timidly, will you participate sometimes? The question caught Victoria off guard. She looked at her daughter as if seeing her for the first time in a long while. Participate how? In the lessons, in the activities. It would be nice if the whole family did things together. Matthew saw something break in Victoria's face. For a moment, her mask of control slipped, and he saw the vulnerable woman behind the perfect socialite. I'll see what I can do to adjust my schedule, she said, her voice softer. That's great, the children shouted in unison. Now finish your breakfast and go get ready for school, said Victoria. Rachel, can you go up with them? Of course, ma'am. After they were alone, Victoria turned to Matthew. You know this could go very wrong, right? I know, but it could also go very right. And if the children become even more attached to her? What if they get to the point of preferring her over us? Victoria, maybe that's exactly what we need. Maybe we need to feel what it's like to be chosen by our own children, not just accepted because we're the parents. That's cruel. No, cruel is continuing to pretend everything is fine when it clearly isn't. Victoria finished her coffee and picked up her purse. I have a charity luncheon today. I'll be home late. Cancel it. What? Cancel it. Stay home. See what one of Rachel's lessons is like. Matthew, I can't cancel. 300 people are counting on me. And 2 children who are your daughters are also counting on you. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being realistic. You have an opportunity to find out who your children really are. Don't miss it. And my social commitments? They'll still be there tomorrow. But today, be a mother. Victoria hesitated for a long moment, looking at her phone, then at Matthew, then at the stairs where the children had gone up. All right, she finally said. I'll cancel. Really? Really, but just today, don't make it a habit. Understood. When the children came down ready for school, they were shocked to see that both Matthew and Victoria were there to say goodbye. Are you both staying home today? Asked Tyler, suspicious, as if it were too good to be true. We are, said Matthew. Why? Is someone sick? Asked Emily, worried. No, laughed Victoria. We just decided we want to spend more time with you. Really? Tyler's eyes lit up. Really, she confirmed. So when we get home from school, you'll be here, both of you? Asked Emily. We will. And we're going to do Aunt Rachel's first special lesson all together, added Matthew. This is going to be the best afternoon of my life, shouted Tyler, hugging both parents at once. After the children left for school, the house became strangely quiet. Matthew and Victoria rarely found themselves alone during the day, and they realized they weren't quite sure what to do with each other without the mediation of social or professional obligations. Would you like a stronger coffee? Asked Victoria. I would. They sat on the back porch looking out at the impeccably maintained garden that cost a fortune to keep up, but which neither of them truly appreciated. Victoria, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Are you happy? What do you mean? You, Victoria, the person, not the businessman's wife, not the children's mother. Are you happy? Victoria remained silent for so long that Matthew thought she wasn't going to answer. I don't remember the last time I thought about that, she finally said. Happiness always seemed like a luxury I couldn't afford. Why? Because if I stopped to think about whether I was happy, I might discover that I wasn't. And then what? What would I do with that information? You could try to change. Change how? Matthew, our entire life is built on appearances, obligations, expectations. If I strip all that away, what's left? Us. We are left. And what if us isn't enough? What if it's more than enough? Victoria smiled for the first time in a serious conversation in months. When did you become so optimistic? Since last night, when I discovered my children have amazing personalities I never stopped to get to know. They really are special, aren't they? They are. And they deserve parents who are special too. Matthew, I want to try, but I need you to be patient with me. I truly don't know how to do this. We'll figure it out together. At that moment, Rachel appeared on the porch. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know I'm heading to the store to buy a few things for this afternoon's class. Unless you'd prefer I wait. What kind of class are you planning? Asked Victoria, genuinely curious. I thought I'd teach them how to plant a little garden, nothing too complicated, some basic herbs, maybe a few small flowers. Where? There's a little corner in the back garden that goes unused. I thought it could be perfect. And why did you choose this activity? Asked Matthew. Because planting teaches patience, responsibility and care, and the children can see the result of their own effort grow. Victoria and Matthew exchanged looks. Rachel's answer held a simple wisdom they hadn't considered. That sounds like a wonderful idea, said Victoria. Can I help too? Of course, Rachel smiled. It would be wonderful to have the whole family participating. Family, repeated Matthew, liking how the word sounded. Rachel went to do the shopping, and Matthew and Victoria were alone again. You know what's strange? Said Victoria. What? For the first time in years, I'm looking forward to the children getting home from school. Why? Because I'm going to find out what kind of mother I can be when I'm not in a hurry. And I'm going to find out what kind of father I can be when I'm not distracted. They spent the morning talking in a way they hadn't in years. Not about family logistics or social obligations, but about old dreams, current fears, and hopes for the future. Matthew discovered that Victoria had always wanted to learn to play the piano, but never had the courage to ask for lessons. Victoria discovered that Matthew used to write poetry as a teenager, but stopped when he started business school. Why did you stop writing? She asked. Because I was told poetry doesn't make money. And you believed that? I did. And I spent my whole life doing things that made money but didn't make meaning. Like building a billion-dollar company? Like building a billion-dollar company without knowing why I was building it. And now you know? Now I know I want to build a family. A real one. At 2 in the afternoon, they heard the sound of the school bus stopping in front of the house. Tyler and Emily came running out, but stopped in surprise upon seeing both Matthew and Victoria in the living room, waiting for them. You really stayed, shouted Emily, throwing herself into Victoria's arms. Of course we stayed, said Victoria, hugging her daughter tightly. How was school? The teacher praised my essay about family, said Emily proudly. What essay? Asked Matthew. We had to write about what a happy family is, and I wrote about when everyone is together doing fun things. What else did you write? Asked Victoria. That in a happy family, everyone listens to everyone, and everyone cares about everyone's feelings. Very wise, said Matthew, moved. And you, Tyler? How was your day? Asked Victoria. It was cool, but during recess, I kept thinking about the garden Aunt Rach is going to teach us to make. Already excited about the lesson, huh? Said a voice behind them. Rachel had arrived from the market, carrying bags with seedlings and gardening tools. Aunt Rach! The children ran to help her. Easy, you two. First, let's have a snack and do homework. Then we'll start the gardening lesson. Can I help with the homework? Asked Matthew. Sure, said Tyler. I have a tough math problem. And I have to write an essay about my favorite hero, said Emily. Who are you going to write about? Asked Victoria. About the grandma I never met. Aunt Rach told me she was very brave. Matthew looked at Rachel, intrigued. How did she know about Emily's mother if they had never met? Which grandma, Emily? He asked. Grandma Catherine, Mommy's mother. Aunt Rach said I was named after her. Rachel, said Victoria slowly. How do you know about my mother? Emily told me, replied Rachel. But Matthew noticed hesitation in her voice. Emily, when did you tell Aunt Rach about Grandma Catherine? I didn't, said the girl, confused. Aunt Rach told me about her. The silence that followed was filled with tension. Rachel had clearly lied about something, but why? Rachel, Victoria's voice came out cold. How exactly do you know the story of my mother? I might have gotten confused. You didn't get confused at all, said Victoria, standing up. You knew about my mother before you came to work here. The question is, how? Matthew felt he was missing something important. There was a tension between Victoria and Rachel that went beyond a simple misunderstanding. Kids, can you go up to your room? He said. The adults need to talk. But what about the gardening lesson? Asked Tyler, disappointed. Soon, sweetie, said Rachel kindly. I promise. After the children went upstairs, Victoria positioned herself in front of Rachel, clearly expecting an explanation. "Rachel," said Matthew, "what's going on here?" I need to confess something," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm listening," said Victoria coldly. "I didn't come to work here by chance." "What do you mean?" "I knew who you were before I accepted the job." "And how did you know?" asked Matthew. "Because Catherine Thompson was my teacher." Victoria turned pale. "Your teacher?" "When I was a child, I studied at a public school where your mother taught volunteer classes on Saturdays. She taught me how to read." That's impossible," murmured Victoria. "Why would it be impossible?" asked Matthew, confused. "Because my mother never taught volunteer classes," said Victoria. "She hated children, always said I was a burden." "Mrs. Victoria," Rachel spoke gently, "your mother taught at Hope Elementary School in Brownsville every Saturday morning for over 10 years. That's a lie. It's not a lie. She taught me how to read when I was 7 years old. She said every child deserved to have the same opportunities, no matter where they were born. My mother would never say that. She said it every week. She said education was the only way for a poor person to change their life." Victoria sat down heavily in the chair, clearly in shock. "When was this? What years?" "For as long as I can remember. I studied with her from age 7 to 12, from 2004 to 2009. "In 2004, I was in college," murmured Victoria. "She always told me she spent her weekends resting at home. She would arrive early in the morning and only leave in the late afternoon. Sometimes she brought books that she bought herself to give to the most dedicated children." "Books?" "Children's literature, history books, science books. She said knowledge was the best gift she could give a child." "I don't understand," Victoria shook her head. "The woman you're describing is not my mother. My mother was cold, critical, always dissatisfied with me." "Maybe she was different with strangers," said Rachel gently. "Or maybe she was afraid to show you too much affection." "Afraid? Why?" "Because sometimes people who grew up without affection have a hard time giving it. They love, but they don't know how to show it." The description hit Victoria like a revelation. She looked at Matthew, then at Rachel. "How did you find out who I was?" "I saw a magazine article about you. I recognized the last name and the photo. You have the same eyes as teacher Catherine. And that's why you came to work here?" "Yes." "Why?" Rachel took a deep breath, as if preparing to reveal something painful. "Because I wanted to meet the daughter of the woman who changed my life. And because I wanted to give back a little of what she did for me." "Give back how?" "By caring for your children with the same affection she cared for me." The silence that followed was deep and full of emotions that no one knew how to express. Finally, Victoria spoke. "Did my mother really change your life?" "Completely. She taught me to read, gave me books, encouraged me to study. When I said I wanted to be a teacher, she explained how to get a scholarship. Without her, I never would have left Brownsville." "And why did you go back there?" "Because when my father got sick, I couldn't afford his treatment on a teacher's salary. So I went back to the community where I grew up and started working as a housekeeper for wealthy families." "And why did you choose our family specifically?" "Because I wanted to see if teacher Catherine's daughter had become the kind of woman she hoped for." "And?" asked Victoria, her voice small. "Did I become that?" Rachel looked at her with tenderness. "You became a woman who has everything it takes to be amazing, but who forgot that along the way. How do you know? Because your children are loving, polite, and kind. That doesn't come from nowhere. It came from you, even if you don't realize it." "Rachel," said Matthew, "why didn't you tell me this yesterday?" "Because I was afraid you would think I was lying to get something." "And now?" "Now I realized that you need to know the truth as much as I needed to tell it." "What else haven't you told us?" asked Victoria. "Everything that matters you already know. The rest is just details." "Rachel, is your mother still alive?" asked Matthew. "No, she passed away when I was in college. And your father?" "He's in a specialized clinic. The Alzheimer's is very advanced. He doesn't recognize me anymore." "That's why you need this job. That's why, and because taking care of Tyler and Emily reminds me of why I wanted to be a teacher. And why did you want to be a teacher? Asked Victoria. Because Teacher Catherine showed me that teaching is the purest form of love. You give knowledge, attention, affection, and expect nothing in return except to see the person grow. Victoria stood up abruptly and left the porch. Matthew and Rachel remained silent, listening to her quick footsteps going up the stairs. Is she angry? Asked Rachel, worried. No, she's emotional. Sometimes when emotions are too strong, she needs some time alone to process them. Mr. Harrison, I hope you understand that I never meant to cause trouble. I really came here just to work. I know, and you ended up giving us much more than work. How so? You gave us a mirror, you showed us who we really are and who we can be. Victoria came down 20 minutes later with red eyes but a calmer expression. Rachel, can you tell me more about my mother? She asked, sitting down again. What do you want to know? Everything. How she was with the children, what she said, how she acted. She was patient, very patient. When I couldn't understand something, she would explain it in different ways until I got it. Did she talk about me? She did, always with great pride. Pride? Victoria seemed incredulous. She never showed pride in me. She said she had a very smart daughter who studied at an important college in New York City, and that one day you would do great things. She really said that? She did, and she also said that her biggest worry was that you were so focused on being successful that you'd forget to be happy. Victoria began to cry silently. She was right, she murmured. No, said Rachel. She was worried, but you still have time to prove that her worry was unnecessary. How? By being the mother she would want you to be. And how can I know what kind of mother she would want me to be? By looking at how she took care of the children at school. With patience, with affection, believing in each one's potential. Rachel, said Matthew, do you have pictures from that time? Any memories from the school? Yes, I do. At my house. Why? Victoria would like to see them, wouldn't you, dear? Victoria nodded, too emotional to speak. I can bring them on Monday, offered Rachel. Or we can go to your house over the weekend, said Matthew. Go to my house. Rachel seemed scared. Mr. Harrison, you won't like it. It's very simple, very different from here. Rachel, do you think we care about that? Asked Victoria. I don't know. I've never met employers who wanted to know about their employees' lives. Maybe because we're not just your employers, said Matthew. Maybe we're your family too. Rachel began to cry, and for the first time since she arrived at the Harrison house, she let her defenses completely fall. I can't get used to this, she sobbed. To what? Asked Victoria, touching her arm gently. To having a family again. I can't go through that again. Go through what? Losing people I love. Rachel, said Matthew, who did you lose? Everyone who mattered. My mother when I was 15. Teacher Catherine when I was in college. My boyfriend when he found out my father was sick and that I would need to take care of him. And now my father, little by little, every day that goes by without him recognizing me. Rachel. Victoria knelt in front of the chair where she was sitting. You're not going to lose us. How can you be sure? Because now I understand. I understand what my mother was trying to teach me. That family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choosing to love and be loved in return. And we choose you, said Matthew, not as an employee, as family. But what if it doesn't work? What if you change your minds? What if it does work? Asked Victoria, echoing the words Matthew had said to her that morning. And what if for the first time in our lives, we manage to be the family everyone deserves? At that moment they heard footsteps running up the stairs. Tyler and Emily appeared in the living room, clearly concerned about what they were hearing. Why is Aunt Rach crying? Asked Tyler, frightened. Is she sad? Asked Emily. Was it something we did? No, my darlings, said Rachel, drying her tears. These are happy tears. Happy tears? Asked Tyler, confused. Sometimes, when we get very emotional about something good, we cry from happiness, explained Matthew. Like when I got that doll I really wanted for Christmas? Asked Emily. Exactly like that, smiled Rachel. And why are you having happy tears? Asked Tyler. Rachel looked at Matthew and Victoria, who nodded encouragingly. Because you are the most special family I have ever known, and because I feel very lucky to be part of your lives. You really are part of it, said Emily, hugging Rachel. Forever. Forever, repeated Tyler, joining the hug. Matthew looked at Victoria and saw that she also had tears in her eyes. For the first time in years, they were all feeling the same thing at the same time. Pure and simple love. Now, said Rachel, composing herself, how about we start our first official lesson? Yay! Shouted the children. Let's plant our family garden, said Tyler. Family garden? Asked Matthew. It's a garden that the whole family takes care of together, explained Emily, as if it were obvious. For the next 2 hours, the 5 of them dedicated themselves to preparing the small flower bed in the garden. Matthew discovered that his hands, used only to typing on keyboards and signing documents, could also dig in the dirt and plant seeds. Victoria, always concerned with keeping her nails perfect, plunged her hands into the soil without hesitation and discovered there was something therapeutic about working with plants. Aunt Rach, why is it important for us to plant ourselves? Asked Tyler. Isn't it easier to buy plants that are already grown? It is easier, but it's not the same, explained Rachel. When you plant a seed and take care of it every day, you follow every stage of its growth. And when it finally bears fruit, you know it was your care that made it happen. Like taking care of a family? Asked Emily. Exactly like taking care of a family, agreed Rachel. Matthew stopped digging in the dirt and looked at his daughter. At just 11 years old, she had just made a deep connection about relationships and responsibility. Emily, you are very wise, he said. I learned from Aunt Rach, she replied proudly. And who did Aunt Rach learn from? Asked Victoria. From Teacher Catherine, said Rachel. She always said that teaching is planting seeds of knowledge and love that will grow for the rest of a person's life. My mother really said that? She did, and she was right. And she was. Look where those seeds she planted in me have reached. Victoria looked around, at her husband covered in dirt, at the children laughing as they watered the seedlings, at Rachel who had carried her mother's love all the way there. She would be proud, she murmured. Who? Asked Matthew. My mother. She would be proud to see that the love she planted in a poor girl from Brownsville came back to take care of her grandchildren. I think she planned this, said Rachel, with a mysterious smile. How so? Teacher Catherine always said that love has a life of its own, that it travels the world looking for where it is most needed. Do you think she knew? Asked Victoria. I think she hoped. She always told me to never forget the Thompson family. She said that one day perhaps I could repay what she had done for me. And you did, said Matthew. You gave us back something we had lost without realizing. What had you lost? The ability to be a real family. When they finished planting the garden, everyone was dirty, tired, and completely happy. The children ran off to take a shower, and the 3 adults stayed in the kitchen, looking at the result of their afternoon together. Rachel, said Victoria, I need to apologize. Why? For treating you only as an employee when you've always been so much more than that. Mrs. Victoria, you don't have to. Yes, I do. And I need to thank you too. Thank me for what? For giving me the chance to know my own mother through your eyes, and for showing me that I can be a better mother to my children. You're already a good mother. You just needed to believe it. How can you be so sure? Because this afternoon I saw you hug Emily when she got hurt while planting, and I saw you teach Tyler how to water the plants without drowning them. You just needed to slow down to realize you already knew how to love. And you, Matthew looked at Rachel, taught us that loving is being present. It's choosing to be here now completely. You learned it on your own. I just helped you remember. Rachel, said Victoria, about the proposal for you to be the children's private teacher. Yes, I'd like you to accept, officially. Really? Really? But on one condition. What? That you teach me too. I want to learn to be the kind of mother my mother would have wanted me to be. Mrs. Victoria, that would be an honor. And you can stop calling me Mrs. We're family now. What would you like me to call you? Aunt Vicky and Uncle Matthew, shouted Emily, appearing in the kitchen in her pajamas, with her hair still wet from the shower. Emily, laughed Victoria. No one can call me Aunt Vicky. Why not? Asked the girl. Aunt Rach is Aunt Rach. You can be Aunt Vicky. Because Aunt Vicky sounds too informal for... For what? Interrupted Matthew. For a family? Victoria looked at her husband, then at her expectant daughter, then at Rachel, who was smiling in the corner. All right, she sighed. Aunt Vicky. Yay, shouted Emily, hugging her mother. And now you can just call me Matthew, he said to Rachel. No more, sir. But won't that be strange? What would be strange is keeping formalities when you're clearly part of the family. Really? Really, said Victoria. And Rachel? Yes? Thank you for taking such good care of my children when I didn't know how to. You always knew. You just needed to trust yourself. That night after dinner, something unprecedented happened in the Harrison household. The whole family gathered in the living room to watch a movie chosen by the children. Not an educational or culturally relevant film, but a simple cartoon that made them all laugh together. Matthew found himself watching the family more than the television. He saw Tyler leaning against Rachel, who was absent-mindedly stroking his hair. He saw Emily lying on Victoria's lap, who for the first time didn't seem worried about wrinkling her clothes, and he felt a peace he hadn't experienced in decades. Daddy, said Tyler during a quieter scene in the movie. Will you be here tomorrow too? I'll be here whenever you need me, replied Matthew. And if work needs you, work will have to wait. Really? Really? And Mommy too. Mommy too, confirmed Victoria. From now on, our priority is you. And Aunt Rach? Asked Emily. Aunt Rach is going to be our special teacher, said Matthew. Forever? For as long as she wants to stay with us. I want to stay forever, said Rachel quietly. Then stay, said Tyler, as if it were that simple. And maybe it was that simple. Maybe family was exactly that. People who choose to stay together, who choose to love each other, who choose to be present for the important moments and also for the ordinary ones. In the days that followed, the household dynamics changed completely. Matthew began working from home 3 days a week, participating in the lessons Rachel gave the children. Victoria cancelled half of her social engagements to be present. The first official lesson was about cooking. Rachel taught the entire family how to make homemade bread, explaining that each ingredient had a special function, just as each family member had a unique and important role. The yeast makes the dough rise, she explained, just like love makes a family grow. And if there's no yeast, asked Tyler, then the bread becomes hard and bland, just like a family without love. Our family must have plenty of yeast then, declared Emily, making everyone laugh. In the second lesson, Rachel brought photos from the school where teacher Catherine used to teach. Victoria saw for the first time her mother smiling genuinely, surrounded by children who adored her. She looks so different, murmured Victoria. People are different when they do what they love, said Rachel. Why did she never show me this side of her? Perhaps because you were her daughter. And sometimes it's harder to be ourselves with those we love most because we're afraid of disappointing them. Or because we're afraid of not being loved back, added Matthew, thinking about his own relationship with his children. Look at this photo, said Rachel, showing a picture of her class from 2008. That's me at 9 years old. You were so little, said Emily, enchanted. And this one is from our literacy class graduation, all of us who learned to read with teacher Catherine. My mother did that with you? Asked Victoria, moved. She did. She said that seeing a child read for the first time was like watching a flower bloom. She really said that? She did, and she was right. Look where I got because of that first reading. Rachel, said Tyler, was teacher Catherine like you? How so? Did she also make children feel special? She did. She had a way of looking at each child as if they were the most important in the world. Just like you do with us, said Emily. That's because I learned from her. So we're learning from teacher Catherine too, asked Tyler. You are, smiled Rachel. The love she planted in me is now growing in you." Matthew felt a shiver. There was something almost magical in how everything connected. The teacher who had shaped Rachel was now, through her, shaping her grandchildren she never met. "Victoria," he said, "your mother is still alive through Rachel." "How so?" "Everything she taught, everything good she planted, is blooming in our family now." Victoria looked at the photos, at Rachel, at her children listening attentively, and finally understood what Matthew meant. "She would be proud," she said, touching one of the photos where her mother appeared teaching a group of children. "She always wanted me to use my resources to help other people." "And now you are," said Rachel. "You're helping me continue her work." "How?" "By giving me the chance to teach again, by giving me a family to love, by giving me hope." In the third lesson, Rachel took the family to visit her father at the clinic. It was a difficult but important experience. The children saw how Rachel tenderly cared for someone who could no longer care for himself. "Why do you visit your father if he doesn't remember you?" asked Tyler, with the sincerity of children. "Because love doesn't need to be remembered to be real," answered Rachel. "I remember for both of us." "And doesn't it make you sad?" "It does. But the sadness is worth it when it's for someone we love." Matthew saw Victoria observe the interaction between Rachel and her father, saw how she held his hand even without receiving recognition, how she spoke to him even without getting a response. "Rachel," said Victoria when they left the clinic, "you are the strongest person I know." "Why?" "Because you keep loving even when it hurts. Everyone does that. You all do that with Tyler and Emily every day." "How so?" "You worry, you protect, you sacrifice things for them. That's love, even when you don't know how to show it." "But we didn't show it well," admitted Matthew. "But you loved, and love always finds a way to show itself, even when we don't know how to help it." On the way home, the children made an observation that left all the adults thoughtful. "Aunt Rach," said Emily, "your father doesn't remember you, but you still take care of him." "Yes, just like you did with us. We didn't know how to love right, but you kept taking care of us." "And now we've learned," added Tyler. "It's true," said Rachel. "You've learned." "And you've learned too," said Matthew. "You've learned that you can trust that we will take care of you too." "Can I?" "You can," said Victoria. "We're family now, and family takes care of each other." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out now continuing. A week later, Matthew made a decision that surprised even himself. During a meeting with American investors, he closed his notebook in the middle of a presentation. "Gentlemen, I'm going to have to reschedule this meeting," he said, standing up. "Senor Harrison, we flew here specifically for this meeting," said one of the investors, "and I appreciate that. But I just remembered that today is a very important day." "Important for what?" "For my family." He left the meeting room ignoring the shocked looks from his team and the protests from the investors. It was Thursday, the day of Rachel's international cooking class, and for the first time since becoming CEO, Matthew chose family over $1 million contract. When he got home, he found the kitchen transformed into organized chaos. Rachel had taught the family how to make apple pies, and everyone was covered in flour and laughter. "Daddy!" shouted Tyler. "You came just in time. We're making food from another country." "Which country?" "America," said Emily. "And Aunt Rach told stories about how apple pies were invented." "How were they invented?" "By poor people who needed to make food that would last a long time and be tasty," explained Tyler, proud to know the information. "Just like many other things we eat today," added Rachel. "Many of our favorite foods were created by simple people who needed to be creative." "Like cornbread," said Emily. "And grits," added Victoria. Matthew stopped at the entrance to the kitchen, watching his wife talk about grits with knowledge and enthusiasm. When was the last time he saw her excited about something that wasn't a social event? "You seem different," he said to Victoria. "Different how?" "More you." "It's because I'm learning who I am when I'm not trying to impress anyone." "And who are you?" "Someone who likes to cook." "Who would have thought, right?" She laughed. 42 years to discover I have a knack for seasoning." Mom made an apple pie that looked just like Aunt Rachel's, said Tyler. Almost just like, corrected Rachel. But the important thing is that it was made with love. Rachel, said Matthew, can I talk to you after dinner? Of course. Did something happen? No. I just want to tell you something. During dinner, which again happened with everyone together and without electronic devices, Matthew observed his family. Tyler was telling about a fight he had witnessed at school and how he had tried to help the two boys make peace, just like Rachel had taught. Emily was showing the drawings she had made during art class, explaining every detail with passion. Victoria listened to everything with genuine attention, asked questions, and showed real interest. It was as if, by allowing Rachel to teach them about family, she had finally found permission to be herself. Rachel, said Matthew after the children had gone to sleep, today I lost a $20 million deal. What? Why? Because I chose to come home in time for the cooking class. Matthew, you shouldn't have done that. That was a lot of money. It was. But do you know what it's worth to see my wife laughing while she makes apple pies? What it's worth to see my children proud that I chose to be present? But 20 million? Rachel, I already have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But I only have one chance to be a father, one chance to see my children grow up, one chance to build real memories with them. What if your partners got angry? Let them. Life is about choices, and today I chose right. How can you be sure? Because for the first time in years when I walked into the house, I felt truly at home. Rachel smiled, but Matthew noticed something was bothering her. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that you're changing too fast, and change that's too fast sometimes doesn't last. Do you think we'll go back to our old habits? I think it's easy to get excited about new things. But when routine gets heavy, when work gets demanding, when problems arise, you might remember how much simpler it was before. Rachel, have you ever seen Tyler and Emily as happy as they are now? No. And have you ever seen me as present as I am being? No. And have you ever seen Victoria as relaxed and natural? No. So why do you think we would go back to something that clearly wasn't working? Because I'm afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that when you realize that being a real family takes work, you'll give up, and I'll be left here loving children who will grow up and forget me. Rachel, look at me. She reluctantly raised her eyes. You saved our family. Literally. If you hadn't come here, we would have kept pretending everything was fine until the children grew up resentful and distant. I didn't save anyone. Yes, you did. And now we're going to save you too. How? By giving you something you lost, a family. Matthew, you don't understand. I'm a housekeeper. You're billionaires. This doesn't what? Can't work? Why? Because society says it can't? Because people will talk? Yes. Rachel, do you care what people will say? I care about you, about what this could cause for you. The only thing it can cause is happiness. And what if it's not just that? What do you mean? What if people start saying you're weird? That it's bizarre for a rich family to treat the housekeeper like family? Then they'll be saying we're weird for choosing to love instead of just fulfilling social obligations, and I'm happy to be that kind of weird. At that moment, Victoria appeared in the kitchen. What are you talking about? About Rachel's fears regarding what people will think of our family, explained Matthew. What people? The neighbors, society, I don't know, said Rachel. Rachel, Victoria sat down beside her. Do you know how many of my high society friends have children who barely speak to them? No. Almost all of them. Do you know how many of them have empty marriages where the couples just share the same address? No. Most of them. So if they want to talk about how our family works, I'll ask them how their family is working. Victoria, you've changed a lot, observed Rachel. I have. Because you showed me I could be different from what I thought I was obliged to be. What do you mean? I always thought that to be a good wife and mother, I had to be perfect, controlled, always elegant and socially appropriate. And now? Now I think that to be a good wife and mother, I need to be true to myself, even if that means sometimes having dirt under my nails or flour in my hair. And you feel good like that? I feel more like myself than I have in 20 years. But what about your friends, the society crowd? Rachel, said Matthew, do you want to know a secret? What? Most of those friends are just acquaintances who attend the same events as us. True friends support your decisions when they make you happy. And if they don't support you, then we find out who our true friends are, said Victoria. And are you willing to take that risk? Rachel, said Victoria, are you willing to take the risk of being truly loved? The question hit Rachel in a way she didn't expect. For a few seconds, she couldn't speak. I don't know how, she whispered. How what? How to accept love without feeling guilty. How to believe I deserve to have a family again. The same way we're learning to love without feeling guilty for not having done it before, said Matthew. One day at a time, added Victoria. Over the weekend, the whole family went to visit Rachel's house in Brownsville. It was the first time Matthew and Victoria had ever been into a community, and they were surprised by what they found. Rachel's house was small but impeccably clean and organized. Every corner breathed care and affection, from the plants on the porch to the family photos carefully arranged on the shelf. Wow, Aunt Rach, your house is beautiful, said Emily, delighted. It's small, but cozy, said Rachel, clearly nervous about having such important visitors. Rachel, said Victoria, you've made this house a real home. How do you know? Because when you walk in here, you feel good. You feel welcomed. Is it different from our house? Asked Tyler. It's not different, sweetheart, said Matthew quickly. It's just that every house has its own energy. And what kind of energy is here? Asked Emily. Love, said Rachel simply. Every piece of furniture, every object was chosen or kept out of love. Matthew looked around and understood what she meant. There was nothing expensive there, but there was history in every item. A blanket that had clearly been handmade, frames with photos of important moments, well-kept books on the shelves. Rachel, can I see your books? He asked. Of course. Matthew approached the shelf and was impressed by the variety. There was classic literature, books on education, biographies of educators, and an entire section dedicated to children's books. Wow, you have more books than many libraries, he commented. They're my treasures. Many were gifts from teacher Catherine. Others I bought with my first paycheck from each new job. And these here, Victoria picked up an old recipe book. That was my mother's. All the recipes are handwritten by her. May I see? Rachel nodded, and Victoria carefully leafed through the book. Every page had notes, tips, adaptations. It was the story of a life told through food. Aunt Rach, said Tyler, can you teach us some of these recipes? Of course. Which ones would you like to learn? This one. Emily pointed to a page with the recipe for happiness cake. Happiness cake? Asked Matthew. What an interesting name. That's what my mother called the birthday cake she made for me every year. She said happiness was the secret ingredient. And what was the real secret ingredient? Asked Victoria. There wasn't one. The secret was that she made it thinking only of seeing me smile, and that, somehow, changed the flavor. So the secret really was love, said Matthew. It was. Just like you do with us, said Tyler. Everything you make tastes like affection. They spent the afternoon at Rachel's house, and the children played in the small backyard as if it were the biggest park in the world. Matthew and Victoria helped Rachel cook lunch, and for the first time in their lives, they experienced the simple pleasure of preparing a meal together. Rachel, said Victoria while chopping vegetables, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. Don't you feel lonely living here alone? I did, before I met you all. And now? Now I know that at the end of the day, even if I come back here, I have a family waiting for me tomorrow. And is that enough? It's more than I ever dreamed of having again. Matthew stopped stirring the sauce and looked at them. There was something deeply touching about the simplicity of Rachel's answer. She had found happiness in having people to love, even if she didn't share the same roof with them. Rachel, what if you didn't have to come back here every day? He asked. What do you mean? What if you lived with us officially? Matthew, that wouldn't be proper. Why not? Because people will say you're supporting a maid, and that could harm your reputation. What if we don't care about that? But you should care. You have a social position to maintain. We have a family to maintain, corrected Victoria, and our family isn't complete without you. Victoria, you don't understand. I can't just change my life like that. I have responsibilities. You're afraid, Matthew finished. It's not fear, it's realism. It is fear, he insisted. Fear of believing you can be happy again. And can you? Asked Tyler, who had appeared in the kitchen without them noticing. Tyler, said Rachel, you shouldn't be listening to adult conversations. But it's about you, and you're part of our family, said the boy with the irrefutable logic of children. So I get to give my opinion too, said Emily, appearing behind her brother. And what is your opinion? Asked Victoria, amused. That Aunt Rach has to live with us forever, said Tyler. Forever is a long time, said Rachel. No, it's not, said Emily. Forever is exactly the right amount of time when you love someone. The 11-year-old's answer left all the adults silent. How could a child have such clarity about something they made so complicated? Emily, said Matthew, where did you learn that? From Aunt Rach. She always says that when you truly love someone, you want that person to be happy forever. And you want Aunt Rach to be happy forever? Asked Victoria. Yes. Even if that means changes in our house? What changes? Aunt Rach would have her own room. She'd always have dinner with us. She'd be like an older sister to Dad and Mom. That would be awesome, shouted Tyler. Really? You wouldn't mind? Asked Rachel. Aunt Rach, said Emily, cupping Rachel's face in her little hands. You're the coolest person in the world. Why would we mind having you close all the time? Because you're children now, but one day you'll grow up and have your own families. So? Asked Tyler. So you won't need me anymore. Aunt Rach, do you think we stop loving you when we grow up? Asked Emily, incredulous. It's not that you stop loving. Then it's settled, declared Tyler. We'll love you when we grow up too, and our kids will call you Grandma Rach. Grandma Rach, repeated Emily, clapping her hands. I want to have kids now just so they can meet Grandma Rach. Matthew and Victoria looked at each other, both with tears in their eyes. Their children had just resolved with the simplicity of children all the complications that the adults had created. Rachel, said Matthew, your lawyers just spoke. Lawyers? Tyler and Emily. The case is closed. You're going to live with us. But, no buts, said Victoria. The children have spoken, we agree, and you have no choice. What do you mean I have no choice? Because when a family decides you're part of it, you can't just refuse, explained Tyler. That's how it works. Who taught you that? Asked Rachel, laughing through her tears. You did, said Tyler and Emily at the same time. That night, while driving back home with the whole family in the car, Matthew realized it had been the most important day of his life. Not because he had lost money, but because he had gained something infinitely more valuable, the certainty that family is about choice, not obligation. Rachel, he said, looking in the rearview mirror, next week you officially start as a teacher and big sister of the family. Big sister, like the children said. You're like a big sister to us, someone who came to complete our family. And what if I don't know how to be a sister? You already know, said Victoria. You take care of us like a sister would. It's true, agreed Emily. You scold us when we do something wrong, but always with affection. And you always protect us, added Tyler. And you teach us important things, said Victoria. And you're always there when we need you, concluded Matthew. Is that what being a sister is? Asked Rachel. That's what being family is, the four of them answered at once. The following Sunday, the whole family went to church for the first time in years, not because they felt social obligation, but because Rachel had shared that giving thanks for blessings was part of the education she had received from teacher Catherine. Leaving church, they encountered some families known to Matthew and Victoria. The reaction was immediate and predictable. Victoria, what a surprise to see you in church, said Heather, a socialite who attended the same events. And with the children. Normally they're in lessons on Sundays. We decided Sundays would be for family, replied Victoria naturally. What an interesting change. Heather looked at Rachel with poorly disguised curiosity. And this is? This is Rachel, said Matthew. The children's teacher and family. Family, confirmed Victoria, putting her arm around Rachel's shoulders. Heather clearly didn't know how to react to this. How modern, she finally said. How happy, corrected Emily. Our family is very happy now. On the way home, Matthew asked, Rachel, were you bothered by people's reaction? A little, but not for me. For you. For us? Why? Because you have much more to lose than I do if people start talking. Rachel, said Victoria, do you want to know what I discovered this week? What? That having a lot to lose is only a problem when you're not sure about what truly matters. And are you sure? We are, said Matthew. Family matters, love matters, and you're part of both. Forever, shouted the children from the back seat. In the weeks that followed, the Harrison family's transformation became complete. Matthew restructured his company to have more flexible hours. Victoria drastically reduced her social commitments to focus on family. And Rachel officially moved into the mansion, occupying a suite that had been specially renovated for her. Lessons became the highlight of their days. Rachel taught history through traditional recipes from different regions of the United States, geography through plants typical of each climate, math through recipes that needed to be doubled or divided. Aunt Rach, said Tyler during a lesson about the Northeast region, how do you know so much about every place in the United States? Because when I was little and didn't have money to travel, I traveled through books. I read about each place and imagined what it would be like to be there. And have you been to those places now? No. They're still trips I take only in my imagination. We could travel together, suggested Emily, to all the places you've always wanted to see. That would be amazing, said Rachel, but Matthew noticed she spoke like someone who didn't believe it was possible. Why did you say it like that? He asked. Like what? Like it was impossible. We can travel. Matthew, you don't have to. It's not about having to. It's about wanting to. We want to see the United States through your eyes. But it would be expensive travel. Rachel, have you forgotten I'm a billionaire? Matthew laughed. Money is the one thing I have plenty of. But it's not fair. What's not fair is you thinking you don't deserve to have beautiful experiences, interrupted Victoria. Victoria is right, agreed Matthew. You've spent your whole life taking care of everyone. Now it's time for someone to take care of you. We'll take care of you, said Tyler, just like you took care of us. And we'll travel to all the places you want, added Emily. And you'll get to see with your own eyes all the places you know from books, added Victoria. Rachel looked at the four people around her, all eager to give back a little of the love they had received from her, and finally allowed hope to replace fear. All right, she said. Let's travel. Really? Asked the children. Really, but with one condition. What? You'll have to teach me not to be afraid of being happy. That's easy, said Tyler. You just have to stop thinking about the bad things that might happen and think about the good things that are happening. Very wise, said Matthew. Who taught you that? Aunt Rach, laughed Tyler. 2 months later, the Harrison family was completely transformed. The house that was once silent and formal was now full of laughter, conversations, and shared activities. Matthew had discovered that working less didn't mean earning less. In fact, with his mind more focused and rested, he made better and faster decisions. His employees commented they had never seen him so strategic and efficient. Victoria started giving piano lessons to the children, fulfilling a long-held dream of teaching music. She discovered she had a natural talent for explaining musical concepts in a fun way, something Rachel always praised. Vicky, said Rachel one afternoon using the affectionate nickname the children had created, have you ever thought about teaching piano professionally? To other children? Why not? You have the knack, the patience, and the resources to set up a wonderful studio. But I've never given official lessons, and I've never been a private teacher for a billionaire family. Sometimes life takes us to places we never imagined. Do you think I could do it? I think you can do anything you set your mind to. You just needed to discover that. The idea planted by Rachel began to grow in Victoria's mind. She had always loved music, but never thought of making it more than a hobby. Now, seeing how rewarding it was to teach something she loved, she began to consider the possibility. "Matthew," she said one night after the children were asleep, "what would you think if I set up a small music school here at home?" "I'd think it was fantastic." "Why?" "Rachel gave me the idea, and I've been thinking, I have so much space here, so much free time now that I've reduced my social commitments. And you'd like to teach other children?" "I would, especially children who wouldn't normally have access to music lessons." "How about the children from the school where your mother used to teach?" "Exactly. Victoria, that's an incredible idea." "Really?" "Really. And you know what's even more incredible?" "What?" "That your mother would be proud. You'd be continuing her work, just with music instead of literacy." "You really think so?" "I do, and I think Rachel can help you find the right children for the project." "How?" "She knows the community. She knows which families would benefit the most." "Would Rachel agree to this?" "Why don't you ask her?" The next morning, during breakfast, Victoria presented the idea to the whole family. "A music school here at home?" asked Tyler, excited. "Does that mean there will be other children playing here?" asked Emily. "It means that Mommy will use her talent to help other children learn music," explained Matthew. "Like Aunt Rach does with us?" asked Tyler. "Similar," said Victoria. "And Aunt Rach is going to help me find the right children." "This is an honor, Vicky," said Rachel, moved. "It would be like continuing Teacher Catherine's dream." "How so?" "She always said that education was the only thing nobody could take away from a child once they learned it. Music is education too. And it would be good for Tyler and Emily too," said Matthew. "They would learn that using our resources to help others is important. It's like planting seeds, right, Aunt Rach?" said Emily. "Exactly like planting seeds, sweetheart." "Then let's plant music seeds," declared Tyler. The music school project became the family's new passion. Victoria and Rachel visited public schools in various areas of New York City, identifying children with musical interest, but without the means for lessons. Matthew renovated an entire wing of the mansion, creating classrooms equipped with pianos, guitars, and other instruments. Tyler and Emily helped choose the wall colors and the decorations, wanting the space to be welcoming for the visiting children. "Daddy," said Tyler as they watched the renovation, "are the children who come here going to live with us too?" "No, son. They will only come for the lessons and then go back home." "What if they want to stay?" "Why would they want to stay?" "Because our house is cool now. It has you, has Mommy, has Aunt Rach, has us." "Tyler, these children have their own families." "Oh, that's true, but can we be friends with them?" "Of course you can. And can they come to play sometimes?" "If their parents allow it, of course, and that's great. It'll be fun to have more friends." The first class of Harmony Music School, as Victoria decided to call the project, started in March. 10 children between 8 and 12 years old, all from communities where Rachel had identified latent musical talents. The first day was emotional and chaotic. The children arrived shy, clearly impressed by the mansion, but Victoria and Rachel worked together to make them feel at ease. "My name is Victoria, but you can call me Teacher Vicky," she said, introducing herself to the class. "And this is Rachel, who will help with anything you need." "Wow, ma'am, this house is bigger than my whole building," said a 9-year-old boy named Jason. "It is big indeed," agreed Victoria. "But what matters isn't the size of the house. It's the size of the hearts of the people who live in it. And the hearts here are very big," said Emily, appearing in the room with Tyler. "These are my children," introduced Victoria. "Tyler and Emily. They also study music and will join some of your classes." "Cool," said a girl named Olivia. "Do you know how to play the piano?" "I'm learning," said Emily. "Mommy is teaching me." "And you?" Jason asked Tyler. "I play guitar. Or at least I try to play," laughed Tyler. The ice was broken immediately. The children discovered that despite their social differences, they had much in common: similar musical tastes, similar dreams, and the same excitement for learning. During the first practical lesson, Victoria realized that teaching was truly her calling. She saw the children's eyes light up when they managed to play a simple melody, felt the satisfaction of explaining concepts in a way they could understand. "Miss Vicky," said Olivia at the end of the class, "why did you decide to teach us?" "Because music is too beautiful to stay only with those who have money to pay for it," replied Victoria. "But you don't get anything for teaching us." "Yes, I do. I get the pleasure of seeing you discover that you're capable of amazing things. Just like Aunt Rachel gets from taking care of us," said Tyler. "Exactly the same." After the first month of classes, Matthew noticed profound changes in the entire family. Victoria had found a purpose that went beyond social obligations. The children had learned about generosity and friendship in a practical way, and Rachel had regained her identity as an educator. "Rachel," he said one evening, "can I make a confession?" "Of course." "When you first arrived here, I thought you were going to teach us about how to take care of children. And I did, didn't I? You taught much more than that. You taught us how to be a family." "You were already a family, Matthew. I just helped you remember that." "No, Rachel. We were 4 people sharing a house. Now we're 5 people sharing a life." "5? You, me, Victoria, Tyler, and Emily. 5 hearts beating for the same goal: to love and be loved." Rachel smiled, but Matthew noticed a shadow of worry in her eyes. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that maybe this is too good to be true." "Why are you still afraid?" "Because I've learned that when things are too good, that's when something bad might happen." "Rachel, what could go wrong now?" "I don't know. It's just a feeling." "A feeling of what?" "That I'm being too happy, and that life will demand this happiness back in some way." "Rachel," Matthew held her hands, "you deserve all the happiness in the world. Stop expecting it to be taken away from you. I know I deserve it. In my head, I know. But in my heart, in your heart, you're still protecting yourself from pain." "Exactly. Then stop protecting yourself. Give yourself completely to this family and trust that we will take care of you, just as you take care of us." That same week, something happened that would test the solidity of the new family dynamic. Rachel's father had a sudden worsening and had to be admitted to a private ICU. The costs of intensive care were far beyond what she could pay, even with her new salary as a teacher. Rachel tried to hide the situation, but Matthew and Victoria realized something was wrong when she started to seem distracted during lessons and sad during dinners. "Rachel, what's going on?" asked Victoria one morning. "Nothing serious, just some personal problems." "What kind of problems?" "Problems that I need to solve on my own." "Rachel," said Matthew, appearing in the kitchen, "family doesn't solve problems alone." "But this is my problem, not yours." "If it's your problem, it's our problem," said Victoria. "Now tell us what's happening." "My father got worse. He's in the ICU, and I can't afford the treatment." "Why didn't you tell us?" asked Matthew. "Because you've already done too much for me. I can't ask for more." "Rachel," said Victoria firmly, "you didn't ask. We're offering." "Offering what?" "Help. The kind that family offers to family," said Matthew. "But it's many thousands of dollars per day." "Rachel, to me, many thousands per day is what I spend on specialty coffees for meetings that aren't always important," said Matthew. "Your father is important, but I can't accept." "Why not?" "Because then I'll owe you so much money." "Rachel," said Victoria, "when you care for our children with affection, do you charge extra for that?" "No." "When you make them laugh, when you teach important values, when you comfort them in difficult moments, do you charge extra?" "Of course not." "Then why do you think we would charge for caring for someone you love?" Because it's different." "Why is it different?" asked Matthew. "Because you owe me nothing." "Rachel," Tyler appeared in the kitchen, clearly having heard the conversation. "Are you crazy?" "Tyler," scolded Victoria, "we don't speak to adults that way." "But she is, Mom," insisted the boy. "How can she think we owe her nothing?" "It's true," agreed Emily, arriving behind her brother. "Aunt Rach, you gave us a real family. How is that nothing?" Children, said Rachel, her voice choked up. You don't understand. We do understand, said Tyler. You love us, and when someone we love needs help, we help. Like you did when I had a fever, Emily reminded her. You stayed up all night taking care of me. And when I was scared on my first day at the new school, added Tyler, you gave me courage. And when Mum was sad because she didn't know how to play with us, said Emily, you taught her. And when Dad didn't know how to talk to us, Tyler completed, you showed him. You saved our family, Aunt Rach, Emily said seriously. Now it's our turn to save yours. Rachel could no longer hold back her tears. The children had summed up in a few words everything she had done for them, and they were ready to repay it without hesitation. It's decided, said Matthew. We will take care of your father, and I don't want to hear any more discussion about it. Matthew, Rachel, do you remember what you taught me about planting seeds? I do. You planted seeds of love in this family. Now those seeds have grown and are bearing fruit. This fruit is for you. But, no buts, said Victoria. Tomorrow morning we'll go to the clinic to talk to the doctors, and your father will get the best treatment available. And if he doesn't get better? Then at least you'll know you did everything you could, said Matthew, without sacrificing yourself in the process. Aunt Rach, said Tyler, is your dad going to be okay? I don't know, sweetie. He's very old and very sick, but will we take care of him like you take care of us? We will, Victoria confirmed, because that's what family does. Then he'll know he's loved, said Emily, and that's the most important thing. Once again, the children had found the essence of the situation with a simplicity that eluded the adults. Matthew looked at Rachel and saw that she had finally understood. Accepting help wasn't weakness, it was part of belonging to a family. All right, she said finally. We'll take care of him together. Together? Everyone repeated at the same time. The trip to the clinic the next day was revealing. Dr. Williams, the doctor in charge of the case, explained that Rachel's father's condition was serious but not impossible. The problem is that the proper treatment requires specialized care that isn't covered by the basic plan, he explained. What would the ideal treatment be? Asked Matthew. A combination of new medications, intensive physical therapy, and specialized neurological monitoring. It could significantly slow the progression of the disease. And the cost? About $15,000 a month. When can we start? Immediately, if there's financial approval. There is. The doctor looked surprised at Matthew, then at Rachel. Are you a relative of the patient? I'm family to his daughter, and she is family to me. So he is too. I understand, said the doctor, clearly not understanding but too professional to question. Doctor, said Victoria, besides medical treatment, what else might help? Cognitive stimulation, music, conversations, activities that awaken old memories. Sometimes patients with Alzheimer's respond well to these stimuli. Music? Victoria looked at Matthew. Rachel, did your father like music? He loved it. He used to sing to me when I was little. He knew all of Billy Joel's songs by heart. Then he'll get plenty of music, and said Victoria. I'll give him piano lessons too. Victoria, you don't have to. Yes, I do. If music can help him, then he'll get all the music we can give. And can we visit him? Asked Tyler. Of course you can, said Matthew. He'll be another grandpa for you. Another one. There's Grandpa Robert and Grandpa William, Daddy and Mommy's fathers, and now Grandpa Richard, Aunt Rachel's father. Grandpa Richard, said Emily, testing the name. I like it. When they left the clinic, Rachel was calmer than she had been in weeks. How do you do this? She asked in the car. Do what? Turn my problems into family projects. Because your problems are our problems now, said Matthew. And family projects are more fun than individual problems. It's easier too, added Victoria. When you have more people helping, everything feels lighter. Like when we do homework together, said Tyler. It's easier when everyone helps. Exactly, smiled Rachel. 3 weeks later, the treatment was taking effect. Richard, Rachel's father, had moments of clarity where he recognized his daughter and even managed to talk a little. Daughter, he said in one of those moments, holding Rachel's hand. "Who are these people who come visit me?" "They're my family, Dad." "Your family?" "Yes. Matthew, Victoria, Tyler, and Emily." "The girl plays piano very well." "Yes, she does. Victoria is teaching her." "And the boy tells funny jokes." "Tyler has always been a clown." "They like you, daughter." "They do, Dad, and I like them very much." "That's good. You deserve to have a family that likes you." "Dad, I always had you." "I know, but now you have more. And that puts me at ease." "At ease, why?" "Because when I'm no longer here, you won't be alone." Rachel squeezed her father's hand, feeling a mix of sadness and gratitude. Even with his mind affected by the illness, he still worried about her. "Dad, you're not leaving anytime soon." "Maybe yes, maybe no, but now I know you're well taken care of." When Rachel told this conversation to Matthew and Victoria, they realized the importance of what they had built together. "You know what's amazing?" said Matthew. "What?" "Your father gave us a kind of approval, as if he were the family patriarch blessing our union." "It's true," agreed Victoria. "And now I understand why you were so afraid of getting attached to us." "What do you mean?" "You had to take care of him alone for so long that you forgot what it's like to share responsibilities with other people." "And now you're relearning," said Matthew. "Just like we're relearning how to be parents. The difference is that you've always been blood family," said Rachel. "I'm heart family." "Rachel," said Victoria, "heart family is sometimes stronger than blood family." "Why?" "Because blood family sometimes accepts love as obligatory. Heart family chooses to love every day." "And we choose you every day," added Matthew, "even when I'm sad." "Especially when you're sad." "Even when I'm afraid?" "Especially when you're afraid." "Even when I don't know how to repay everything you do for me." "Rachel," said Victoria, "you repay us just by existing, just by being who you are." 6 months after Rachel's arrival, the Harrison family was unrecognizably different. Harmony Music School had grown to 50 students, and some of the children were already participating in small concerts organized by Victoria. Matthew had become the unofficial sponsor of several educational projects in underprivileged communities, always with Rachel's guidance on where help was most needed. Tyler and Emily had become more empathetic and generous children, always ready to help struggling classmates at school and eager to include new friends in home activities. "Daddy," said Tyler one Saturday morning, "can I ask a serious question?" "Of course, son." "Why were we sad before Aunt Rach came?" The question caught Matthew off guard. How to explain to a 10-year-old complex concepts about emotional alienation and distorted priorities? "We weren't sad, Tyler, we just didn't know how to be happy together." "But why?" "Because sometimes adults forget what's important, and they get focused on things that seem important but aren't." "Like what?" "Like working too much to have a lot of money but forgetting to enjoy that money with family." "Oh, like when I was focused on winning the video game but forgot to play with Emily?" "Exactly like that." "And Aunt Rach reminded us what was important?" "She reminded us." "So she's like a guardian angel. She's like a teacher, like Teacher Catherine was for her." "So Grandma Catherine was like a guardian angel for Aunt Rach?" "Maybe. And now Aunt Rach is like a guardian angel for us." "Cool. Our family has a guardian angel." Emily appeared in the room at that moment, hearing the end of the conversation. "What are you talking about?" "About how Aunt Rach is our guardian angel," explained Tyler. "She really is," agreed Emily. "She showed up right when we needed her most." "And now we're going to take care of her forever," said Tyler. "Forever," confirmed Emily. That afternoon, during a cooking class, something unexpected happened. Jason, one of the students at Harmony Music School, arrived with a black eye and clearly shaken. "Jason, what happened?" asked Rachel, concerned. "Nothing, Mom. I just fell." "Jason," said Victoria gently, "that injury isn't from a fall." The boy started to cry and the whole room fell silent. Rachel knelt in front of him. "Honey, you can tell us. We'll help." "It's my stepdad," he sobbed. "When he drinks, he gets angry at everything." Does he hurt you? Jason nodded, crying harder. And does your mother know? She knows, but she's afraid of him too. Matthew and Victoria exchanged glances. They had no experience with situations like this, but they knew they had to act. Jason, said Matthew, would you like to stay here with us for a few days? Can I? Of course you can, said Victoria, and we'll talk to your mother to see how we can help. But what if he gets even angrier? He won't, said Rachel firmly, because you won't go back there until it's safe. Can I live here? For as long as you need, confirmed Matthew. Like my big brother? Asked Tyler excitedly. Exactly like that, smiled Victoria. That's so cool, said Emily. Our family is growing again. In the following days, Jason stayed at the Harrison house while Matthew and Victoria, with Rachel's help, spoke with social workers and lawyers to find the best way to protect the boy and help his mother. Rachel, said Matthew one night, how did you know Jason was in danger? Experience. When you grow up in a community, you learn to recognize the signs. What signs? The way he flinched when someone raised their voice. How he ate too fast as if he was afraid the food would be taken away. How he constantly tested whether he could really trust us. And what did you do? I gave him time to feel safe. I showed him that here he could be a child without fear. How did you learn to do that? From your mother. Teacher Catherine. She took care of many children who came from difficult situations. My mother did that. She did. She said that every child deserves to have at least one place in the world where they feel completely safe. And you turned our home into that place for Jason. We turned it all together. Rachel, do you think we can do this for more children? How so? Open our home, temporarily, until the situations are resolved. Victoria, that would be amazing, but it's a huge responsibility. No greater than the responsibility you took on when you decided to love our children, said Matthew. And no greater than the responsibility we took on when we decided to be a real family, added Victoria. Would you be serious about this? Rachel, do you remember the first lesson you taught us? About planting seeds? I remember. You said that when we plant with love, the seeds grow and produce fruits that can feed many people. I did. Well then, now our family has grown enough to feed other families too. But what if we can't handle it? What if we can? Asked Matthew, using the tactic that had worked so many times before. What if we can help many children like Aunt Rach helped us? Asked Tyler, who had appeared in the room. Tyler, what are you doing awake? I couldn't sleep thinking about Jason. Thinking what about him? If he'll be able to stay with us forever. Tyler, said Rachel, Jason has a mother who loves him very much. But she can't protect him. Not for now, but we are going to help her manage. How? By giving her strength, showing her that she is not alone. Just like you did with me? Asked Rachel. Exactly the same. The next day, Jason's mother, a 40-year-old woman named Denise, came to the mansion with a mix of gratitude and shame. I don't know how to thank you, she said, crying. You took care of my son better than I could. Denise, said Victoria, you are a good mother in a difficult situation. A good mother doesn't let her son get hurt. A good mother does what she can to protect her son. And sometimes what she can do is not enough alone, said Rachel, but I should have been stronger. Denise, strength isn't about enduring everything alone, said Matthew. Strength is accepting help when it appears. And what kind of help can you give? The kind you need, Victoria replied simply. I don't understand. A safe place for Jason to stay when necessary. Help for you to find better paying work. Support for you to get out of the situation you're in. Why would you do this for me? You don't even know me. We do know you, said Rachel. I know you, because you are just like I was a few years ago. Alone, scared, thinking I had to solve everything by myself. And how did you get out of that situation? This family showed me that I didn't have to be alone. And now we are going to show you the same thing, said Matthew. But I can't repay you. Denise, interrupted Victoria, you are raising an incredible boy. Generous, smart, brave. You are already repaying. How so? By raising a child who who makes our family happier just by being here. And who teaches our children about courage and resilience, added Matthew. Jason teaches you? He does, said Tyler, appearing with Jason and Emily. He taught me that you can be brave even when you're scared. And he taught me that you can be joyful even when things are tough, said Emily. Mummy, said Jason, hugging Denise. They want us to be part of their family. Jason, I'm serious, Aunt Denise, said Tyler. Just like Aunt Rach became our family. But we're poor, Jason. They're rich. So what? Asked Emily. Money doesn't matter when you care about people. Besides, said Jason, Aunt Rachel said that being truly rich means having people who love you. And you have me, and now you have them too. Denise looked at her son, then at the 5 people who had transformed their lives in a matter of weeks. I don't even know what to say, she murmured. Say you'll accept our help, said Rachel. And that you'll let Jason come play here whenever he wants, added Tyler. And that you'll learn piano with Mommy too, said Emily. Learn piano? Yeah, Mommy is teaching everyone. Grandpa Richard, Jason, the kids from school. Emily is right, said Victoria. How about starting to study music too? It can be therapeutic. I've never played anything in my life. Neither had I, said Matthew. And just look. He went to the piano and played a simple version of Happy Birthday. Daddy is learning too, said Tyler proudly. The whole family is learning. So you have to learn too, Aunt Denise, declared Jason. Aunt Denise, she repeated, moved. That's what special people are called in our family, explained Emily. From that day on, Denise became a regular presence at the Harrison house. She started working as Victoria's assistant in coordinating Harmony Music School, discovering she had a talent for organization and relationships with the children's families. Jason began dividing his time between his mother's house and the Harrison house, officially as the children's friend, but practically as another son of the family. Rachel, said Matthew one evening, watching Jason help Tyler with his math homework. How did you know this would work? I didn't know, I just trusted. Trusted in what? In love. Love always finds a way to multiply instead of divide. And it really multiplied. And it will keep multiplying. How so? Jason wants to bring 2 more of his friends to see the music school. Denise is organizing a group of mothers from the community who want to learn new things. Your story is inspiring other people. Our story? The story of a family that chose to grow instead of closing itself off. That inspires hope in those going through hard times. Rachel, do you realize what happened? What? You came here to take care of 2 children and ended up creating a whole network of love and support. It wasn't just me. It was all of you too. No, you were the catalyst. Without you, none of this would have happened. Without you all opening your hearts, it wouldn't have happened either. Rachel, can I ask a question that might be strange? Go ahead. Do you regret anything? How so? About leaving the school where you taught to come work as a housekeeper? About changing your life so drastically? Rachel thought for a long moment before answering. You know, Matthew, for a long time I felt guilty for having wasted my training as a teacher. I thought I had betrayed my calling. And now? Now I understand that no path is wasted when you follow love. Every experience brought me here to you all. To us? If I hadn't worked as a housekeeper, I never would have ended up here. If I hadn't known the pain of losing people, I would never value having a family again so much. So you wouldn't change anything. I'd change just one thing. What? I would have believed sooner that I deserved to be happy. Rachel? Victoria appeared in the room, hearing the end of the conversation. Can I tell you something? Of course. These 7 months have been the happiest of my life, and I'm 42 years old. Why? Because for the first time, I understood what my mother was trying to teach me. That love multiplies when it's shared. Did your mother say that? Not in words, but through you. She planted that teaching in you and you planted it in us. And now we're planting it in other people, said Matthew. It's like a tree, said Tyler, joining the conversation. It starts small but keeps growing and providing shade for more people. Tyler, what a beautiful analogy, said Rachel. I learned from you, Aunt Rach. You always explain things with examples from nature. It's because nature teaches everything we need to know about love and family. How so? Asked Emily, curious. Look at our garden, for example. Each plant takes care of the other. The roots intertwine underground, sharing nutrients. When one plant grows, it provides shade to protect the smaller ones. Just like our family, said Jason, who had appeared with Denise. Exactly the same, smiled Rachel. Aunt Rachel, said Denise, can I ask a question? Of course. How did you find the courage to change everything in your life to take care of other people? Denise, I didn't change anything. I just stopped resisting what my heart always wanted to do. What was that? To teach, to care, to love, to make a difference in children's lives. But you did that as a teacher too. I did. But as a teacher, I took care of 40 children for a few hours. Here, I take care of a few children full-time. It's different. Different how? As a teacher, I planted seeds and then the children would leave. Here I plant, water, watch them grow, harvest the fruits, and plant again. It's a complete cycle of love. And you don't miss the classroom? No, because now I have something better than a classroom. I have a whole family that is my classroom. That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Matthew stayed on the porch thinking about the incredible journey his family had taken. In less than a year, they had gone from strangers sharing a house to a true family sharing dreams, fears, and hopes. Can't sleep? Asked Rachel, appearing with 2 cups of tea. I was just thinking. About what? About how life can change completely in a few months. For the better. For much better. Matthew, can I tell you a secret? Of course. When I first got here, I planned to stay only long enough to save money for my father's treatment. And what changed? You showed me I could have a family again, and that family isn't a burden, it's a blessing. Rachel, you saved our family from falling apart without even realizing it. How so? If you hadn't come, Victoria and I would probably have separated in a few years. The children would have grown up thinking relationships are cold obligations. We all would have lived empty lives. You don't know that. We do know, because we saw where we were headed, and it wasn't a good place. And now we're walking together toward a place full of possibilities. What possibilities? Victoria's music school is growing. My company is more profitable because I'm making smarter decisions. The children are happier and more generous. And you became a teacher again. And you? What possibilities do you see for yourself? For the first time in my life, I see the possibility of being remembered by my children as a present father, as someone who chose love over success. Matthew, you had success too. I had success in business. Now I'm having success as a human being. Which is better? There's no comparison. 1 year after Rachel's arrival, the Harrison family had become known in New York City for reasons completely different from before. Instead of being remembered for extravagant parties or million-dollar businesses, they were known for Harmony Music School and the social projects they developed. The house had been adapted to accommodate up to 10 children in temporary foster care, always under the supervision of social workers and with the emotional support of the whole family. Rachel, said Victoria one morning, seeing the house full of children taking music lessons, studying in the library, or playing in the garden, do you realize what we've created here? What? A home. Not just for us, but for any child who needs to feel loved. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And do you know the best part? What? That our own children are learning that their happiness grows when they help make other children happy too. That's true. Tyler was telling me yesterday that his dream now is to have a company like his father's, but one that helps children. And Emily wants to be a music teacher just like me. They're following your example. They're following the example of the whole family, including yours. Rachel, said Matthew, arriving from his morning meeting with his team, I need to tell you something. What is it? The magazine American Family wants to do a story about us. A story? About how a traditional family transformed into an effective family through love. And do you want to do it? Only if you all want to. The decision is for all of us to make. What would be the purpose of the story? Asked Victoria. to inspire other families to rethink their priorities, to show that it's possible to have financial success without giving up emotional connection. And to talk about how family can go beyond blood ties, added Rachel. Exactly. But we only do it if everyone agrees. I'm in, said Victoria. If our story can help other families, it's worth it. And me? Asked Rachel. Will they want to talk to me too? Of course, you're a central part of the story. But what if people react badly? If they criticize you for treating me like family? Rachel, said Matthew, are you still afraid of other people's judgment? A little. Why? Because I'm afraid that the criticism will affect you and that you'll start to doubt the decisions you've made. Rachel, said Victoria, do you think that after everything we've been through together, we'll change our minds because of what strangers think? Not when you put it that way. But social pressures are strong. You know what's stronger than social pressure? Asked Tyler, appearing with Emily and Jason. What? Family love, said the three at the same time. And our family has lots of love, added Emily. So much love that there's plenty left over for other people too, said Jason. Were you listening to our conversation again? Asked Matthew. We always listen when it's about family, said Tyler without shame. And what's your opinion about the magazine story? We think you should do it, said Emily. Why? Because if our story inspires other families to be happy like us, anything is worth it, explained Tyler. And because we're proud of our family, added Jason, even knowing that some people might criticize. Aunt Rach, said Emily, do you remember what you always say about plants? What? That they grow toward the light, no matter what they have to face. So, our family grows toward love, no matter what people say. Once again, the children had perfectly summarized something the adults had made complicated. It's decided then, said Matthew. We'll do the story. All of us together, asked Rachel. All of us together, he confirmed, because this is our story, all of ours. The magazine story was published 2 months later and caused exactly the kind of reaction they expected. Polarized. Some people criticized the family for romanticizing social issues. Others were inspired by the story and got in touch to learn about the projects. Look at this comment, said Victoria, reading on her tablet during breakfast. It's easy to be nice when you have billions in the bank. And this one, said Matthew, reading another. A beautiful story that shows true family goes beyond social conventions. And this one, said Rachel. My family was also transformed after we read the article. Thank you for showing that love has no social class. The good comments are winning, observed Victoria. And do you know why? Said Tyler, who was reading over his father's shoulder. Why? Because the people who criticize are just talking. The people who liked it are doing the same as us. How do you know that? Because Aunt Rach always says that those who talk a lot do little, and those who do a lot don't have time to keep talking. Very wise, said Matthew. Who taught you that? Aunt Rach, laughed Tyler. I just repeated what I learned from teacher Catherine, said Rachel, which always comes back to her, observed Victoria. It's impressive how my mother's teachings continue to live through you, and now through you all too. How so? You're teaching your children the same values she taught me. The circle is completing itself. Rachel, said Emily, does that mean Grandma Catherine is still alive through our family? In a way, yes, sweetheart. That's so cool. So can she see how happy we are? If there is a place where those who have passed can see those who remain, I'm sure she's proud of you. And proud of you too, Aunt Rach, said Jason, for taking care of her daughter's family just like she took care of you. The conversation was interrupted by the sound of the doorbell. Matthew went to answer it and came back with a mysterious smile. Who was it? Asked Victoria. A surprise for you, he said. Especially for you, Rachel. For me? For you. What kind of surprise? The kind that will make you cry with happiness. Matthew, you're making me nervous. You can be nervous. It's a good kind of nervous. Before anyone could ask anything else, a woman of about 60 appeared in the living room, accompanied by Matthew. Rachel looked at the visitor and froze. Teacher Susan, she whispered. Hi, Rachel, said the woman with tears in her eyes. How you've grown. But how? What are you doing here? Matthew found me through the school where I taught with Catherine. He told me about your family, and I had to come meet you. Rachel stood up trembling and hugged the woman tightly. Teacher Susan was your grandmother Catherine's colleague, explained Matthew to the children. They taught together at Hope Elementary School. And she's known Aunt Rach since she was little, said Victoria, emotional. Yes, I do, said Teacher Susan, still hugging Rachel. And what an incredible woman you've become. Teacher, how did Matthew manage to find you? He went to the school, talked to the current principal, searched old records. He was determined to find someone who could tell more about your childhood. But why? Because you talk so much about Teacher Catherine and the other people who marked your life that I wanted to meet at least one of them, explained Matthew. And because we want you to have a connection with your past, added Victoria. You gave us a family. We want to give you back your roots. Teacher Susan spent the whole day at the house, telling stories about the school, about Teacher Catherine, and especially about the special girl Rachel had been. She was always different, Susan told the gathered family. More mature than the other children, more responsible. She took care of the younger classmates like a big sister. Just like she does with us, said Tyler. Catherine always said that Rachel would be a teacher one day. She said she had a natural gift for educating. And she was right, said Victoria. Rachel is the best teacher our children have ever had. But she doesn't just teach school subjects, explained Emily. She teaches about life, like Catherine used to do, smiled Teacher Susan. She didn't just teach reading and writing, she taught values, character, self-worth. Teacher Susan, said Rachel, could you tell me more about how Teacher Catherine's relationship with her family was? Oh, Catherine suffered greatly with that. She told me she had a very intelligent daughter, but they couldn't understand each other. Why not? Her daughter thought her mother was too strict, too demanding, didn't understand why Catherine spent her weekends giving free lessons instead of being with her. And why did Teacher Catherine do that? Because she had grown up poor and knew how education could transform lives, and because she didn't know how to show love to her own daughter, but she knew how to show it to the children at school. Victoria fell silent, clearly moved. It's strange, she said finally. To know my mother struggled to be affectionate with me, but could be affectionate with other children. It's not strange, said Teacher Susan gently. It's common. Sometimes it's easier to be generous with strangers than with family, because with strangers, we're not afraid of disappointing them. And with family, we're afraid we won't be good enough, so we end up being too harsh, trying to prepare our children for the world. That's what happened with you all before Aunt Rach arrived, observed Jason. How so? Asked Teacher Susan. They were too hard on each other because they were afraid, explained Emily. But Aunt Rach showed that you can be affectionate and still prepare children for the world. Very wise, said Teacher Susan. And how did she do that? By teaching that the world needs affectionate people, said Tyler, and that if you're affectionate with your family, you'll be affectionate with everyone. Exactly what Catherine always tried to teach, murmured Susan. Teacher Susan, said Rachel, do you think she would be proud to see how everything connected? Rachel, Catherine always believed love was like seeds in the wind. You plant without knowing where they'll grow, but they always grow somewhere. And they grew here, said Matthew. Grew and multiplied, added Victoria. And now they're planting new seeds, said Susan, looking at all the children around. Teacher Susan, said Denise, could you tell me what it was like working with Teacher Catherine? I'm helping at the music school here and wanted to learn from her experience. Of course, dear. Catherine always said that teaching is planting today to harvest tomorrow, but that sometimes the harvest takes so long you never even see it. You just trust it will happen. And she was right, said Rachel. It took 15 years, but the harvest happened. What harvest? This family, this house full of love, these children learning that money is for helping, not just for accumulating. Catherine would be moved, said Susan with tear-filled eyes. We are moved every day, said Matthew. During Teacher Susan's visit, Something magical happened. She told stories about Rachel's childhood that even she didn't remember, showed old photos from the school, and brought letters that teacher Catherine had written about her students. "This letter is about you, Rachel," said Susan, handing over a yellowed paper. "About me? Catherine wrote to me when you left the school. Would you like me to read it?" "I would." Susan carefully opened the paper and began to read. "Susan, today I said goodbye to Rachel. She's going to a bigger school with more qualified teachers. I'm happy for her, but I will miss her terribly. There's something special about that girl. A capacity to love that goes beyond her years. I'm certain that one day she'll use this gift to transform lives. I just hope she doesn't forget what it feels like to be loved too." The silence in the room was profound. Everyone was moved, but no one more than Rachel. "She wrote this about me?" she asked, her voice choked with emotion. "She did. And see how right she was. You've transformed lives. You've transformed this entire family. And she didn't forget what it feels like to be loved," said Tyler. "Because we love her so much." "So much," agreed Emily. "Was teacher Catherine clairvoyant?" asked Jason, impressed. "No," laughed Susan. "She just knew children's hearts very well. Just like Aunt Rach knows our hearts," said Emily. "It's a gift that gets passed along," explained Susan. "Catherine passed it to Rachel, and now Rachel is passing it to you all. And we'll pass it to our children when we have them," said Tyler seriously. "Exactly," smiled Susan. "That way love never gets lost." After teacher Susan's departure, the family became even more united. The visit had confirmed something they all already knew. They had created something special, something that went beyond social conventions or family expectations. "Rachel," said Matthew that evening, "do you realize we've completed a circle?" "What circle?" "Your teacher planted love in you. You planted love in us. We're planting love in other children, and those children will plant love in their future families. It's true. It's as if teacher Catherine started a chain of love that will never stop. And you were the link that brought this chain to us. No, we're all links in the same chain." "Rachel," said Victoria, "do you still think about leaving here someday?" "Why would I leave?" "I don't know. Maybe to have your own family, your own children." "Victoria, I have my own family, and I have my own children." "What do you mean?" "Tyler and Emily are my heart's children. Jason is becoming one too. And all the children at the music school are partly mine as well." "And us?" asked Matthew. "You're my chosen siblings, my elected family." "Elected family," repeated Victoria. "I like that term. Is it better than blood family?" "It's different. Blood family you receive. Elected family you build." "And which do you prefer?" "The one I have now, which is a bit of both." 2 years after Rachel's arrival, the Harrison family's life had settled into a routine of consistent happiness. Harmony Music School served over 100 children, some of whom had already won scholarships to important conservatories. Matthew had become a businessman known for his humanitarian practices, inspiring other CEOs to rethink their priorities. Victoria was recognized as one of New York City's best community music teachers. Tyler and Emily, now 12 and 13, had become conscious and generous teenagers, always ready to include struggling classmates in their activities. "Aunt Rach," said Tyler one Sunday morning during family breakfast, "can I ask a strange question?" "Of course, dear. Do you regret anything?" "Tyler," scolded Victoria. "What kind of question is that?" "No, Vicky, it's all right," said Rachel. "It's an important question." She thought for a moment before answering. "You know, Tyler, I regret taking so long to believe I deserved to be happy." "Anything else?" "I regret spending so much time being afraid to get attached to you all." "And now you're not afraid anymore?" "Now I know that some things in life are worth any risk." "Like what?" "Like having a family that truly loves me." "We'll love you forever, Aunt Rachel," said Emily. "Even when we grow up and get married. Even when you have children." "Especially when we have children," said Tyler, "because we're going to teach them to love you too. What if we move far away?" "Then we'll come visit every weekend," said Emily, as if it were obvious. "And during vacations we'll stay here," added Tyler. "And you'll be the coolest grandma in the world to our kids," said Jason, who had come to spend the weekend. Rachel looked at the 3 children she had helped raise and realized they were already planning a future where she was part of their adult lives. The realization moved her deeply. "Do you really think I'll still be important to you when you grow up?" "Aunt Rach," said Emily with the patience of someone explaining something obvious, "do you think we'll forget who taught us how to be happy? Or who showed us that family can grow as big as your heart allows," added Tyler. "Or who taught us that helping others makes us happier," completed Jason. "Never," said all 3 at the same time. "Ever," agreed Matthew and Victoria. That night, after an especially lively dinner where teacher Susan had been invited to stay and tell more stories about the school, Rachel retreated to her private balcony. She looked at the garden where the first vegetable patch she had planted with the family had now turned into a small but productive orchard. The fruit trees they had planted together were beginning to bear their first fruits. "Thoughtful?" asked Matthew, appearing with 2 cups of tea. "Reflective," she corrected. "I'm thinking about how surprising life is." "In what sense?" 2 years ago I thought my life was over, that I had lost everything that mattered, and all I had left was to survive. And now? Now I know life was just preparing me for the best chapter. Which was this family, this house, these children, this love I didn't even know was possible. Rachel, have you thought about the future? What do you mean? Your plans, your dreams, now that you have stability, security, a family, what do you want to do? I want to keep doing exactly what I'm doing. Forever? For as long as you want me here. That could really be forever. Matthew, don't you think you'll get tired of me someday? Rachel, have you ever gotten tired of us? Never. How could I? Then why would we get tired of you? Because I'm not blood family. Rachel, Victoria appeared on the balcony. May I interrupt? Of course. I heard what you said about not being blood family. It's true, isn't it? It is. But do you know what you are? What? Soul family, and that's much stronger. How do you know? Because blood family sometimes takes love for granted. Soul family chooses to love every day. And you choose to love me every day. We do, said Matthew and Victoria at the same time. Even knowing I have flaws. What flaws? And asked Matthew. I'm stubborn, sometimes too demanding with the children. Rachel, interrupted Victoria. Do you think we don't have flaws? You do, but I'm controlling, anxious, sometimes picky, listed Victoria. I'm a workaholic, impatient, sometimes selfish, listed Matthew. And we love you anyway, said Tyler, appearing on the balcony with Emily and Jason. Were you listening again? Asked Matthew. We always listen when someone talks about family, said Emily. And why do you love us even with our flaws? Asked Victoria. Because flaws are part of people, explained Tyler. And we don't love perfect people. We love real people. And you're the most real person we know, Aunt Rach, said Jason. Why do you think that? Because you never pretend to be different than you are. When you're sad, you're sad. When you're happy, you're happy. When you're scared, tell us. That's true, agreed Emily. You taught us that we don't need to pretend to be loved. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. 3 years later, on a sunny October morning, the Harrison family received news that would change everything once again. Rachel's father, Richard, had passed away peacefully in his sleep at the clinic, where he was receiving the best possible treatment. Rachel was at music school when she got the call. Victoria immediately cancelled all her classes for the day and rushed to hug her. How are you feeling? Asked Victoria. Sad, but at peace, replied Rachel. He left knowing he was loved, knowing I wasn't alone. He met our family. He did. And he liked all of you very much, especially the children. They liked him very much too. Victoria, can I tell you something he told me the last time we spoke? Of course. He said he had never seen me so happy. That you gave me something he always wanted to give me but never could because of the illness. What was it? Peace. The certainty that I was where I was supposed to be. And you are. You're exactly where you should be. I know. And that's a gift he can take with him. Richard's funeral was different from any funeral Matthew and Victoria had ever attended. The entire family was present, including all the children from the music school and their families. What should have been just a moment of farewell turned into a celebration of the life and love that Richard had inspired. "Aunt Rach," said Tyler during the wake, "is Grandpa Richard happy now?" "Why do you think that?" "Because he doesn't need to worry about you anymore. He knows we'll take care of you forever." "That's true," said Emily, "and he can rest knowing you have a big family that loves you. And that all the children you care for will remember him as a special grandpa," added Jason. "Because he was our Aunt Rach's daddy," explained Nathan, one of the youngest children at the school. "So he's like our great-grandfather," said Elizabeth, another student. Rachel looked around the wake and saw dozens of children who barely knew Richard, but were there because he was important to someone important to them. It was living proof of how love spreads in concentric waves. "Everyone," she said to all the children present, "Grandpa Richard would have loved to see how united you are, how you care for each other." "We learned that from you, Aunt Rach," said Nathan. "And you learned it from Grandma Catherine," said Elizabeth. "And we'll teach it to our children too," promised Jason. "That way, Grandpa Richard and Grandma Catherine will keep living through us," concluded Emily. "Exactly," smiled Rachel through her tears. After the funeral, the Harrison house filled with people. All the families from the music school came to show solidarity with Rachel, turning the day of mourning into a big family gathering. "Rachel," said Matthew, seeing the house full of children's laughter and lively conversations among the adults. "Your father is watching this from wherever he is." "Do you think so?" "I'm sure. He's seeing that you didn't just find a family. You created a community." "We created," she corrected. "All together." "That's true. But you were the heart of it all." "No, the heart is love. I just helped you remember where it was." "Aunt Rach," said Jason, interrupting the conversation. "My mother wants to talk to you." Denise approached, clearly emotional. "Rachel, I want to thank you for everything you've done for me and Jason." "Denise, you don't need to thank—" "Yes, I do. You gave me the courage to leave a situation that was bad for me. He helped me believe I could start over. And how are you feeling now?" "Free. For the first time in years, I feel free to be happy." "And Jason?" "Jason is amazing. Confident, studious, affectionate. He's completely transformed since becoming part of this family." "He was always amazing, Denise. He just needed a safe environment to show who he really was. Just like you did for us," said Victoria. "What do you mean?" "You gave us a safe environment to show who we really were beneath all the social masks." "And now," asked Rachel, "are you happy with who you discovered you were?" "We're more than happy," said Matthew. "We're complete." "What do you mean, complete?" "Complete as people, as parents, as a family. We don't need anything more than what we have. Not even more money. Money is good for achieving dreams, but the dreams that really matter we've already achieved." "What dreams were those?" "To have a united family, raise happy children, make a difference in other people's lives, and use our resources to multiply love instead of just accumulating wealth," added Victoria. "You achieved all that." "We achieved it, Rachel. All of us, together." 6 months after Richard's departure, Rachel received an unexpected offer. A private university in New York City offered her a full scholarship for a master's degree in education, focusing on affective pedagogy. "It's an incredible opportunity," she told the family during dinner, "but it would take 2 years, and I'd have to study full-time." "So," asked Matthew, "so I couldn't continue with the music school, nor with the children's lessons." "Rachel," said Victoria, "do you want to do this master's degree?" "I've always dreamed of specializing more, but nothing," interrupted Matthew. "If it's your dream, we'll make it happen." "But what about you, and the children, and the school?" "The school continues," said Victoria. "I already know how to manage it alone." And the children are old enough to understand that you need to study, said Matthew. Just like they study, added Tyler. And we can help you study, said Emily. How can you help me? By testing you on the material, said Jason. Just like you do with us, and making summaries of your classes so you don't forget, said Tyler. You'd really be okay with this. Rachel, said Matthew, you transformed our family. Now it's our turn to transform your professional life. What do you mean? We'll pay for university, support you during the 2 years of study, and when you graduate, you'll return as the official educational director of Harmony Music School. Matthew, it's the least we can do for someone who gave us so much. Besides, said Victoria, you'll be the first person in your family to have a master's degree. Just like you were the first to leave the community, said Matthew. And just like you'll be the first to return as a doctor of education, said Tyler. To teach other people like you taught us, completed Emily. You've thought of everything, murmured Rachel, moved. We thought because you deserve everything, said Jason. Deserve and much more, agreed Victoria. So will you accept? Asked Tyler eagerly. How can I refuse an offer like this? You can't, all the children shouted at the same time. Then it's decided, said Matthew. Rachel will be the family's first master of education. The family, she repeated. Our family, he confirmed, because your successes are our successes too. Just like our problems were her problems, remembered Victoria. That's how family works, said Emily wisely. During Rachel's 2 years of master's studies, the family developed a new dynamic. She studied mornings at the university and spent afternoons with the children, always sharing what she had learned. Today I studied child cognitive development. She would share during dinners. And I discovered that you, Tyler, and Emily are well above average in emotional intelligence. Because of your classes, asked Tyler. Because of the loving environment you grew up in. Children who feel emotionally secure develop all other skills better. So Aunt Rach made us smarter, asked Emily. You were already smart. I just helped you use that intelligence in a healthy way. Rachel, said Victoria, does that mean all the children at the music school are also developing emotional intelligence? It does, and this will affect their entire future lives. How? Emotionally intelligent children become happier adults, more empathetic, better able to maintain healthy relationships. So we're not just changing these children's lives, but their children's lives too, observed Matthew. Exactly. We're interrupting cycles of suffering and starting cycles of love. Wow, said Jason. We're saving the future. On a small scale, yes, smiled Rachel. Not small, protested Tyler. If every child we help grows up to help other children, it becomes a giant chain. Tyler is right, said Matthew. We're starting a love revolution. A quiet revolution, added Victoria. Family by family, child by child. During her master's degree, Rachel wrote her dissertation on affective pedagogy in non-traditional environments, based on her experience with the Harrison family and Harmony Music School. The work caught the Academy's attention and was considered pioneering in the field. Rachel, said her advisor in a meeting, your research could be turned into a book. Specialized publishers are interested. A book about how families can transform through emotional education. It's a very timely topic. But I'd be writing about our family. With their permission, of course. It would be a practical guide for other families who want to build healthier relationships. When Rachel told them about the proposal, the family was thrilled. A book about us, asked Emily excitedly. About how we learn to be a happy family, corrected Rachel. How cool, said Tyler. Other families can learn too. And other children can learn Grandma Catherine's story, said Jason. Rachel, you have to write, encouraged Matthew. But what if people criticize it? What if they praise it? Asked Victoria. What if they change for the better because of the book? Added Tyler. What if they save other families like you saved ours? Asked Jason. Rachel looked around the dinner table at the 5 people who had become her reason for living and understood the decision was obvious. I'll write, she said. Really? Asked the children. Really, but with one condition. What? you're going to help me, because this story belongs to all of us." "How can we help?" asked Emily. "By telling your versions of events, explaining how you felt before and how you feel now." "That will be fun," said Tyler. "And important," added Jason. "Other children will know it's possible to have a happy family." The book writing process became another family project. Each member contributed their memories and perspectives, creating a real and honest portrait of how a family can transform. "Rachel," said Matthew during a writing session, "do you realize we were the test subjects of your pedagogical experiment?" "How so?" "You tested all the theories that are now in your master's degree on us." "They weren't theories. It was instinct. Instinct based on what you had learned with Mrs. Catherine. And now other families will benefit from that knowledge," said Victoria. "It's as if Mrs. Catherine had written a book through Rachel," observed Emily. "Emily, what a beautiful idea," said Matthew. "It's really true," agreed Tyler. "Grandma Catherine couldn't write a book because she was too busy teaching, but now Aunt Rach can write about everything she learned and about how it changed our family," completed Jason. 9 months later, the book, The Family We Choose to Be, was launched and became a publishing phenomenon. Families from all over the United States contacted them reporting transformations inspired by the Harrisons' story. "Look at this letter," said Victoria, reading one of the hundreds that arrived every week. "Thank you for showing that it's never too late to start over as a family. My husband and I were almost separating, but after reading the book we decided to try again. Now we're happier than ever." "And this one here," said Matthew. "I'm a teacher, and I was inspired by Rachel to create a welcoming project at my school. We've already helped 15 families." "Aunt Rach, you're famous," said Tyler. "We're famous," she corrected, "because the story belongs to all of us." "But you wrote it," said Emily. "I wrote it, but you lived it. Without you, there would be no story." "Rachel," said Jason, "now that you're famous, won't you want to leave to have your own life?" "Jason, this is my own life. You are my own life." "Really? Really? You know why?" "Why?" "Because I chose you. And when you choose a family out of love, not obligation, that choice lasts forever. Forever for real. Forever for real." On the day of the book launch, the family organized a party at the music school. All the children and families who were part of the community they had built were present. "Everyone," said Rachel, addressing the gathered group. "When I started writing this book, I thought it was about education, about how to teach children." "And it wasn't?" asked someone in the audience. "It was, but it was more than that. It was about how we adults can learn from children to love without fear." "How so?" asked another person. "Children don't complicate love. If they like you, they like you. If they want to hug you, they hug you. If they want you to be part of their family, they extend the invitation. And we adults create rules, limitations, fears. We keep thinking about what could go wrong instead of enjoying what is going right." "And how do we change that?" "By learning from children," answered Tyler, standing up in the audience. "We can teach." Everyone laughed, but Rachel nodded seriously. "Tyler is right. Children can be our teachers of simplicity, honesty, unconditional love." "Like how Rachel was your teacher?" asked a father in the audience. "Exactly," said Matthew, also standing up. "Rachel taught us to look at our family with the eyes of a child, with curiosity, with hope, with a desire to play and discover things together." "And now you're a different family?" asked a mother. "We're the same family," answered Victoria. "It's just that now we know how to be happy together." "What's the secret?" shouted someone from the back. "There is no secret," said Emily, joining her parents at the front. "There's only choice." "What choice?" "Choosing to be present, choosing to listen, choosing to love more than to criticize. And choosing to grow together instead of growing alone," completed Jason. The audience applauded, but Rachel raised her hand, asking for silence. "Everyone, I want to say something important," she said. "This book is not a manual on how to be perfect. It's an account of how to be real." "What's the difference?" asked someone. "Perfect families don't exist, but real families do, families that love each other despite their flaws, that grow together through problems, that choose to stay united even when it's difficult. Those do exist. And is that what you are? That's what we've become, said Matthew. A real family. And what's the result of that? True happiness. All the children in the family answered at once. After the party, when everyone had left, the family gathered on the porch to watch the stars. Rachel, said Matthew, have you ever thought about the impact of all this? What impact? Hundreds of families changing for the better because of our story. Thousands of children growing up in more loving homes, happier future generations. It's incredible when you put it that way. And it all started because you decided to come work here to repay what teacher Catherine had done for you. No, said Rachel. It all started because she decided to teach a poor girl to read, even without getting anything in return. That's true, agreed Victoria. My mother planted the first seed. And now we're harvesting a forest, said Matthew. A forest of happy families, murmured Emily dreamily. I like that phrase, said Rachel. Can I use it in the next book? There's going to be a next book, everyone asked at once. Yes, about how children can teach adults to love better. With stories about us, asked Tyler excitedly. With stories about all the amazing children we've met on this journey. Including about me, asked Jason. Especially about you. You taught us that courage is starting over whenever necessary. And what will Emily teach? That generosity is sharing love without expecting anything in return. And Tyler? That joy is contagious when it's genuine. And us, asked Matthew and Victoria, what did we teach? You taught that it's never too late to change, that adults can grow too. And that family isn't about who you're born to, it's about who you choose to love. And you? What did you teach? Asked Emily. Me? Rachel smiled. I hope I taught that everyone deserves to be loved, and that loving other people is what gives life meaning. You did, said Matthew, and much more. What else? You taught that some people come into our lives to save us, and that saving someone always saves us too. Matthew is right, agreed Victoria. You saved us, but we saved you too. How so? You were lost in the pain of taking care of your father alone, and we were lost in the coldness of our own fears. We found each other and saved each other. That's true, and now? Now we keep saving other people, said Tyler. How? By being an example that it's possible to be truly happy, explained Emily. And by helping those who need to find their own heart family, added Jason. 5 years after Rachel's arrival on a special December morning, the family received the last gift she could give them, the news that she had been invited to give lectures on effective pedagogy at universities across the country. It's the recognition of your work, Rachel, said Matthew proudly. Our work, she corrected, because everything I achieved was through this family. And will you accept the invitation? Asked Victoria. Only if you come with me. How so? The lectures are about effective families. You are an essential part of the lecture. Us? Asked Tyler. We would give a lecture. You would talk about what it's like to grow up in a family that chose love as a priority. That would be amazing, said Emily. Travel across the entire United States telling our story? Asked Jason. Exactly. And visiting other places you've always wanted to see, Matthew reminded. And taking Grandma Catherine's message everywhere, said Victoria. Rachel, said Tyler seriously, do you think Grandma Catherine imagined that a girl she taught to read would teach the entire United States about love? I don't know, sweetheart, but I'm sure she would be proud. Just like we're proud of you every day, said Emily. And just like you can be proud of the family you helped create, said Matthew. The family you helped save, corrected Victoria. The family that chose to grow together, completed Jason. Rachel looked around at the 5 people who had transformed her life so completely that she sometimes forgot what it was like to live without them. You know I love you, right? We know, they all said at the same time. How do you know? Because you show us every day, said Tyler. In gestures, in words. In care, said Emily. In patience, in dedication, in affection, said Jason. In the way you turned our house into a home, said Matthew. And our family into a real family, completed Victoria. And you know I'll never leave you, right? We know. How can you be so sure? Because you wouldn't leave us, just like we wouldn't leave you, explained Tyler. And because once someone is part of our heart, they can't really go away, said Emily. Even if physically the person isn't nearby, completed Jason, thinking of Grandpa Richard. That's true, agreed Rachel. You are part of me now, forever. And you are part of us, said Matthew. Forever too. Our family is forever, declared Victoria. Forever and a day, joked Tyler. Forever and a day, they all repeated, laughing. That night, as the house finally grew quiet after another day full of love, discoveries, and growth, Rachel sat in her room and wrote a letter she would never send. Professor Catherine, you were right. Love really is like seeds in the wind. You planted love in me when I was little, and that love grew and spread to an entire family. Now this family is spreading love to hundreds of other families, and one day those families will spread it to thousands more. You started a chain that will never stop. Thank you for teaching me that loving is the meaning of everything. Thank you for preparing me to find this family, and thank you for continuing to live through every hug I give, every lesson I teach, every smile I cause. Your student forever, with love and gratitude, Rachel. She folded the letter, stored it in a special drawer along with photos from school and childhood times, and smiled. Tomorrow would be another day of lessons, laughter, discoveries, and love multiplied. And for the first time in her life, Rachel fell asleep without fear of the future, because she knew that any future that included her chosen family would be a happy one. 10 years later, on a sunny afternoon, Matthew watched from his office window the garden where it had all begun. The simple vegetable patch had become an orchard that fed the whole family and still had enough left to distribute in the community. Rachel, now a doctor of education and author of 3 books on effective pedagogy, was giving an outdoor lesson to a mixed group of children from the music school and children of business owners who wanted their kids to learn about simplicity and values. Tyler, at 20, was studying business administration, but with a focus on social responsibility, already planning to turn his father's company into a benchmark for sustainable and inclusive business. Emily, at 19, was studying education and music therapy, combining the 2 passions she had discovered through Rachel and Victoria. Jason, at 18, had earned a full scholarship for law and intended to specialize in children's rights. Victoria had expanded Harmony Music School to 3 locations, serving over 500 students, and was considered one of the country's leading references in social music education. And he, Matthew, had become the youngest CEO to be honored by the City Council for his services to early childhood education in New York City. "What are you thinking about?" asked Rachel, entering the office after class. "I'm thinking that if someone had told me 10 years ago that my life would be like this today, I wouldn't have believed it." "Why not?" "Because it was too good to be true." "And now?" "Now I know that the best things in life really can be true. They just need people willing to believe in them. And were you willing?" "I was desperate, and you showed up." "Matthew, do you remember the first day you came home and saw me with the kids?" "I remember it like it was yesterday." "What did you feel?" "Envy. Envy of how you could make my children laugh in a way that I didn't know how to. And now? Now I know you weren't taking anything away from me. You were teaching me how to find something I had but didn't know how to use. What was it? Paternal love. It was there all along. I just didn't know how to express it." "And Victoria? How did she change?" "Victoria discovered she didn't need to be perfect to be a good mother. She needed to be present." "And the children?" "The children learned that family is about generosity, not competition." "And you, how did you change?" Matthew thought for a moment. "I stopped trying to compensate for my emotional absence with expensive gifts, and I started giving presents as a gift." "And which was better?" "There's no comparison. Seeing my children proud of me for who I am, not for what I have, is the best feeling in the world." "Matthew, do you know what makes me the proudest?" "What?" "Seeing that Tyler and Emily grew up knowing they deserve to be loved exactly as they are. They will never have to look for that love in the wrong places. Thanks to you. Thanks to all of us. Family is teamwork." "Rachel, can I ask one last question?" "Of course." "If you could go back in time, would you change anything?" I've been asked that before and the answer is still the same. What is it? I would get here sooner. I would allow myself to be happy sooner. I would trust your love sooner. And I would start being present in my children's lives sooner, said Matthew. And I would stop being afraid to show love sooner, said Victoria, appearing in the office. And we would learn sooner that family is about choice, not obligation, said Tyler, Emily, and Jason, appearing behind her. You were listening again, accused Matthew, but he was laughing. We will always listen when it's about family, said Tyler. It's our tradition now, explained Emily. And family traditions aren't broken, completed Jason. Never, agreed Rachel. End of story. Now tell me what you thought of this story and where you're following us from. Do you think a family of the heart is truly stronger than a family of blood? Leave your honest opinion in the comments. Do you believe Matthew and Victoria made the right decisions? We love reading your reflections. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget to leave your like, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories that touch the heart.